Let's do it. 9 to noon on the game. Billy Schmid, Armin Sarian in the iHeart Megaplex, and John Kuhn with all of you on the NicolaLaw.com talking text line. That's 414-799-1973. Didn't decrease your delay on your YouTube TV over there, Armin Sarian.
No, you keep the Kuhn going because John's going in for the third and goal. And then Coach McCarthy's getting nervous thinking they're booing. I don't know why they're booing you, John. They're not booing me, Coach. Didn't you say that once? You thought they were booing you or something like that, John?
Yes.
Did I tell the story correctly?
Yes, you did tell correctly.
All right.
Do you remember the game?
Giants game, right? Giants game in
2010.
2010.
Week 15?
Yeah.
No, it would be week 16. Yeah. Week 16.
Boom.
On the road. That we didn't know the start of the magical carpet ride we were going to be on at that point.
Kidding.
That was the start right there.
That was it.
That was the start of it. Yeah, that was exciting. I'm thinking let's just make the playoffs. You know,
it sounds like you're trying to start another magic carpet ride here for the Green Bay Packers in 2024.
I think it's going to happen. I don't know about you guys, but I feel it's going to happen. Although I kind of had that confidence in a lot of years going into games. I was going to
say, if there is a year that you didn't pick the Packers to win the Super Bowl, I'd love to know which one it was.
Well, I can't say I pick them every year. I mean, I think last year nobody picked them to win the Super Bowl, but I considered last year I think good things are going to happen. You know, I think we're going to have a nice first year and have that type of year where they can make the playoffs, and they kind of did. So,
bring that excitement, bring that optimism, bring that enthusiasm, and bring all of it to Lambeau Field tomorrow for a noon boom as the preseason wraps up against the Baltimore Ravens. The training camp portion and practices wrapped up yesterday with a joint practice that John and I were there with Wayne Larrivee on the perch and a bunch of nooners. Michelle and Wausau was there. Dean stopped by. Tons of Packers fans left and right all around the rails. And John, good work for the entire 2 hours. I'm fascinated to see what it leads to tomorrow. Now, we won't hear officially, I don't believe, unless somebody wants to drop a Friday news dump on us on some information on full starters, because Matt LaFleur won't talk until then, but Matt Schneidman will stop by coming up at 10 o'clock. There was some really, really good stuff, and everybody was able to get excited with 4 touchdowns and 1 interception from Jordan Love in the red zone period. And many people were calmed if they felt like his demise was coming after the debacle in Denver from a week ago.
Yeah, I will say that was something of a comeback yesterday. And we felt that Matt LaFleur and the coaching staff might be getting after the guys a little bit after what happened out there in Denver. I will say it looked as if the Packers had their sea legs yesterday. It was by no means a steamrolling, right? The Packers didn't go out there and steamroll the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, their offense was out there too, and Lamar Jackson is good.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, he is so fun to watch. And
MVP.
Man, between he and Zay Flowers and Derrick Henry, they got some weapons on their offensive side, and their offensive line is pretty tough as well. I would say, just judging yesterday's practice, we didn't run the ball as effectively as I would have hoped we would have, but we passed the ball pretty dang well. I mean, Jordan Love and the receivers, and it started off ugly because the interception that he had came early in the practice, came within, might have been first 4 plays, the interception to Roquan Smith. But, from that point on, Jordan seemed to be locked in. And, even Clifford and Pratt got into the deep ball a little bit of deep ball action out of those guys. So that was good to see too. Oh, and Anders Carlson making his field goals yesterday. That was a great one too, to put the cherry on top of the sundae.
Just getting somebody to put him through the uprights. I think that's been a big morale boost for
those are pluses
for the team, for the fans as well. I mean, I think the fans have been consternating over this kicking situation for the last 24 months. That's just me. I don't think it started last year and it's going to continue to start and all these things.
I mean, I have seen over the last couple of days more Mason Crosby pictures on Twitter than I would have anticipated I would see at this stage in 2024. But that is one of the reasons why, because people are still a little bit nervous there. There's nothing to see, though, on the Baltimore side from their kicking situation. A lot to see, though, from their offense. John, like you mentioned it was far from a steamrolling. Their offense was able to do plenty of things. And when I was talking to people after coming home yesterday and after a JV game yesterday, like, it is something to witness, to watch Lamar Jackson. But that Baltimore offense looks like it's going to be a lot of fun with Derrick Henry. We were talking about it. We were seeing it. I was and would like to be able to see the Packers be able to stuff that up a little bit better. However, I think they're going to be running on everybody. Like, that doesn't necessarily going to be a true tell as to what their run defense looks like, because I think Baltimore is going to be one of those teams that's going to steamroll a lot of different teams in the NFL this year, just from being able to see that and the evidence from the last couple of years.
Yeah, you would assume that a team that was pretty damn good at running the football, adding Derrick Henry will just it'll just take them even higher, even more over the top as an offense. Now, we talked about it yesterday, and when Wayne jumped on, he added to the fact that they have 3 new offensive linemen in their starting line. So they will have to get, that coordination of working with one another and that, familiarity of being able to work combo blocks. But from what I saw yesterday, they were just fine. They were just fine to hit the ground, no pun intended, running. And Derrick Henry was running as well. And they got a nice little change of pace back there behind him as well. So they have a nice thing on their offensive side. I don't see any reason why their offense should slow down one bit. And that defense finished second in the NFL last year. So they're good. They should probably be right there too. Wayne seems to think that Eddie Jackson still has some gas left in the tank there. He's come over from where was he last year? He wasn't in Chicago still last year. Where was Eddie Jackson last year?
Well, it's off the top of my head. I'm looking it up. I want to say, I don't know. Was it Chicago?
Yeah, it was with Chicago.
He was still with Chicago last year.
He changed from 39 to number 4.
That's what
he was so forgettable. No,
but that's what happens. These guys change numbers, and you forget that they're on the same team and they're the same player. Like when they change numbers, or even if they like,
I'm not gonna lie, Chicago, but you don't remember it because Chicago was the first and the last game last year, so there was so much time in between. You're studying other teams, you completely forget about what they had going on, and they were a different team when we faced them.
Well,
in January
both times,
than what
very
they
different times.
They were, but you still won't. I'm just saying, you won't convince me. Guys don't change their playing when they change numbers. They become different players. I've always believed that, so I'm just gonna keep that there.
Oh, I like that. So Jack Chaney moves from 36. Jake Chaney moves from 36 to 1 this year in the middle of the Badger defense.
Right.
Going to be a freak show.
Ones are always faster.
Yes, I agree.
They might not hit us, but I'm not saying he's going to be worse or better. It doesn't mean you're
so
worse
what happens
or better.
when you go from 12 to 8? What happens then?
Well, that's the same. That's the same. That's 12 to 8 is not. I'm talking about guys that go from like 39 to 2. You know what I mean? Or something like that. Or like running backs, or like when Jalen Ramsey went to 5, he became a different player.
You go from 2 numbers to 1 number, you're still the same
Like
person.
when William Henderson went from 33 to 30, it was an adjustment, right? Or 30 to 33. It was an adjustment, but it was still William Henderson. It's still a fullback.
So that's 3 numbers different.
Number.
That's 3 numbers different, and it was an adjustment. 4 numbers different. No, it's still the same thing.
Maybe it's when guys go to single digits is what really throws me off.
That's
when guys
really
go to single digits, I expect them to be faster. I expect them to be younger. I don't know why. It just feels different to me. It does. But listen,
expect them to be younger, perform better.
It's just the way it is. Like, is Jalen Ramsey the same guy when he became number 5? He probably is, but
he got a Super Bowl.
I guess he did. Yeah, it just didn't feel that way. But I mean, I don't know.
Oh, so you think he got worse when he went to the number 5?
No, I just think it's a different. I look at them as different entities.
Sure, like completely different careers,
different people, like different lives. They probably have different houses. Like,
yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, they might. Now, Derrick Henry definitely has a different house since he moved towns. I don't know how they generate these on Pro Football Focus, but PFF is putting out their season projections for 2024. And as we got on here 9 minutes ago, they posted theirs to Twitter of Derrick Henry, 1,464 total yards and 12 total touchdowns. Yeah, that would be a heck of a move from Tennessee to Baltimore if that was the case for his numbers. Just if you'd like to know, I scroll down here a little bit further down on PFF. They fired up Jordan Love's season predictions yesterday, and everybody was able to salivate and get excited about what they thought for his numbers, what they could be. 46, 58 total yards and 31 touchdowns.
Wow.
Those will be pretty damn good numbers for Jordan Love. Well, if Pro Football Focus's somehow generated numbers work out here for their projections.
If he does it every year, he's in the Hall of Fame, right? Would you say? I mean, it's like the whole thing with
4,600 yards and 31 touchdowns a year. Yeah, probably, depending on how long he plays.
I think he's going to have more touchdowns than that.
Oh, wouldn't that be? Wow. What's the over-on? I'm going to check it right now.
I think he's going to have more touchdowns than that.
Oh, man. I think he could, John. I'm not lying to you. I think he could, especially if he gets a lot of volume at the goal line, and the Packers move the ball.
Call me crazy, but I think this is going to be 4,300 yards. I think it's going to be 35 touchdowns, and I just
35 touchdowns for Jordan.
Yes, I think yes. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be 35 touchdowns. I think it's going to be 4,300 yards, but I think we're going to have a tick up in interception category, I'm going to say 14 interceptions.
Okay, yeah, a lot more passing volume. I could see that. That would be pretty good. It was like the old Clay Matthews thing, 1 sack a game.
I also see. Listen, and we talked about this yesterday. I've mentioned Adam Stenavich, the 50-50 throws. We're seeing more of them this year. We have during training camp. We have in joint practices. Heck, we have in the preseason games, even by the backup quarterbacks. And there is a place for YOLO ball, right? You throw a 50-50 ball. It's advantage offense, right?
Yeah.
How could it be advantage offense? It's 50-50. Well, because there's a third scenario, defensive pass interference if the defender doesn't turn around. So a 50-50 ball is your receiver goes up and grabs it. Their defender knocks it away. Or you get a pass interference, but it slightly advantages the offense. And I see us doing this a lot in the preseason. Stenavich tried to play it down when I talked with him, and he tried to tell me, this is simply us trying to get the guys work at practice. But I don't think you take that out of your characteristics like that. I don't think it just comes out of your system when you enter the regular season. You're like, I'm not throwing this 50-50 ball because it's a game now. And all of a sudden, my whole dynamic of the way I've practiced the last 6 week changes. I think there will be more 50-50 balls. And I think there will be more throws into tight spaces. And I think that's going to, unfortunately, lead to more interceptions just because it's going to have a greater chance to. But I do think it's going to lead to a heck of a lot more production as well.
So you don't think that the 38-50 number for total passing yards or 27.5 for passing touchdowns is close for Jordan Love at Potawatomi Sportsbook?
No, I think he goes over both of them.
There you have it right there. There you have it.
There we go.
And
you know, 4,300 yards is aggressive. I'm not going to lie. 4,300 yards is aggressive.
Yeah, they're predicting 4,600 yards. He's going to be in like the top 3 of passing yards.
Yeah,
from a year ago.
Listen, I think 4,300 yards, like I said, that's aggressive. I'll agree on that. I do think 4,000 is definitely happening, and he might end up a tick below 4,300. But I just have this feeling about 35 touchdowns. 35 touchdowns is 2 a game. It's 2 a game with an extra one spared in there somewhere. We've seen him have 4 touchdown games. I think that's going to hit.
That's MVP combo.
The only way that doesn't hit is if Josh Jacobs starts ripping off some touchdowns from the 10-yard line, right? And it takes away the red zone targets.
Well, think about last year at the beginning of portion of the year, at least in my memory, how many deeper balls receivers didn't go get, in my opinion. There were yards and points to be had and big plays
and there were
to
some
be had.
miss.
And there were some misses by Jordan, but there were those plays out there. You know, I'm just saying there was more potential even for more on the total yards. So if we start talking about those numbers, we're talking about MVP. And I'm preparing a big fat apology for Colin Cowherd. But let's wait and see on that.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking MVP because I just don't know that we understand exactly where we're talking. The 46.58 that they're suggesting on the Pro Football Focus.
That's a big number.
That outdoes Tua Tagovailoa's number that led the league in passing yards.
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical about that.
35
number.
Touchdowns that John threw out is 1 less than Dak Prescott threw last year, who led the league in passing touchdowns and was also second in the MVP balloting. Like those are like, I think we have somewhat tricked ourselves to believe that, well, everyone at least throws for like 30 touchdowns. Everyone at least throws for like 4,000 yards. Yeah, 4,000 yards is still a heck of a lot different than 4,500 or 4,600. And these are remarkable numbers. And yeah, that is MVP territory, if that's what is the projections coming into this year for Jordan Love.
I mean, is there an algorithm they're using? We don't know. We don't know how they get there. Is there like an algorithm they're using to project it?
I have no clue.
I mean, obviously they expect him to continue to
listen.
ascend.
I'm not going to give Pro Football Focus a whole heck of a lot of credit on what their projection model is and thinking how amazing it potentially is. But I like that if it at least gives us the thought of how at 9:15 on the day before the final preseason game, we're predicting or discussing, do you think Jordan Love's going to lead the league in passing yards and potentially lead the league in passing touchdowns? Because those numbers would suggest that would be right in the vicinity of what he'd be doing.
Yeah, I mean, potentially.
Heck of a different tone from a year ago. It's awesome.
Yeah, but why? But we saw with our own eyes what they were able to do last year.
That's true, John.
And I think the offense is better this year, is going to be better this year than what it was last year. If his numbers don't meet those numbers that we say, there's a chance they could not meet those numbers because other guys are achieving greater heights as well. Like I said, Josh Jacobs is a great luxury for the Green Bay Packers and going to be a huge advantage for this team throughout the season. He might take away from some of Jordan Love's numbers because he might be able to score some of those touchdowns from the 5 or 7 or 10 yard line. It might lead into a push the ball into the end zone instead of throwing the ball into the end zone scenario. But think about the numbers he had last year real quick. Just 41-59, 32 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. And there was so much volume that was missed in the early part of the season.
Right.
When they were going 3 and out for every drive in a first half. That happened a few times. So to think he's going to get 3 more touchdowns, 3 more interceptions, and 141 more yards, that's not a stretch.
Yeah, the flip side of that, someone could say, just playing devil's advocate, is would Jordan Love go on a heater like he did every year at the last 8 games of the year? I mean,
he was going to go 18-1 touchdown to interception ratio for the last 10 games of the year.
That was an incredible heater. You do that every year. You're talking about, being one of the best ever. So obviously it's probably not realistic to expect a stretch like that, but over the season, you do hope that over the season it could come out that way in the wash where he has those types of total numbers. And then obviously, 262 brings up another big question: is Jacobs going to be healthier than Jones? Health in general is a big question. These things are all assuming guys stay healthy and things like that. And when Jordan Love was blessed to have health last year, we hope that continues. Obviously.
That's why the sports books win more of these over-unders than they lose.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. 414-799-1973. That was from the NicolaLaw.com talking text line. I like this one from the NicolaLaw.com talking text line. Rhonda in the 715. I was at the joint practice yesterday, and I wanted to say hi to you guys and let you know how much I enjoyed your practice coverage through training camp. But I had a great seat and was packed in, so I wasn't giving up my seat for nothing.
I love it.
Rhonda, we're with you. Don't do it. We appreciate it. That hit just as well as the wave would have yesterday. And we'll be able to see you and celebrate with you and say thank you in person for listening to 9 to noon when we have the opportunity. It was a jam-packed day yesterday. Nooners were lined up and down. Railbirds left and right. They were listening to the show over in the different end zones. It was fascinating. It was awesome to see how many people were able to find spots and then how many people were still looking for spots because they still wanted to be able to get any vantage point of what you could. 414-799-1973. Bob in Minneapolis. What I want out of Love is smart chess play.
What does that even
I'd
mean?
rather have him be like Montana over Manning. I hope he's awesome in a 2-minute drill.
I hope he's either. I'm just going to say it right now. If you're Joe Montana or Peyton Manning, I'm taking it.
You're going to take either 4 Super Bowls or 5 MVPs?
If you tell me there's 2 mystery boxes and it's Montana and Manning, I'm taking those mystery boxes. I'm taking one or the other. I don't care which dinner you serve me. I will eat one of them. Let's not get, I mean, be more Montana and less Manning. How about we're fine with that if we get one of those?
How about be a blended into it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm cool with it. What does that mean? John, were you ever on the field saying, I got to play more chess and not checkers here? No, you're just reacting and making plays, right? I'm assuming. I've never played a football.
I don't think he was, probably. No.
414. I was not thinking chess.
That's what I'm saying.
Whatsoever.
Right, exactly. You weren't thinking, hey, okay, and really quick, can I get this one in? It was, well.
You're talking unnamed in the 608 who said, I played DB, though, so every 50-50 ball was mine.
That's the one I loved. I loved it.
That's what I'm talking about.
608 letting us know that he played DB, and he took
love
them all.
it. I want to meet the guy in the 608 that just sent that one in, or girl.
He's excited for Turkey Bowl Thanksgiving, I'm sure.
Could be.
Wherever he's playing,
he's very, very fired up.
He's going to have his cleats ready. He's probably going to have,
Don't line up against Armin Sarian, though,
Yeah.
because you might catch yourself a bloody nose or a broken one like you did. 414-799-1973. NicolaLaw.com talking text lines ready to roll. Who's got the most to gain? Maybe the most to lose. Coming up tomorrow for the Packers, hitting the field against the Ravens, some bubble players. Who could win themselves a spot? And who still has some questions to answer? And A.J. Dillon was a topic of conversation online, as he seemingly has been all camp. We'll discuss it. Match Nyman's 40 minutes away. It's 9 to noon on the Game.
Is this thing on? Word. So what, we get drunk. So what, we don't sleep. We're just having fun. We don't care who sees. So what, we go out. That's how it's supposed to be. Living young and wild and free.
So what? I keep them rolled up, sagging my pants,
What?
not caring what I show.
9 to
Keep it
noon on
real,
the
you don't
game.
know me,
Thanks for
keep it
hanging
real.
out with us. I'm Billy Schmidt. Armin Sarian's right there. John Kuhn with all of you on the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line.
I'm just doing the coon.
Attaboy. Way to get in.
All right.
It's
Wait,
Friday. He's got to act a little weird.
Fan flag fly.
Can I say thanks to was it Dean? I got the pictures at my desk this morning. Was that you that dropped them off? Who gave the pictures yesterday up at camp?
Pictures were given by Will.
Will. Sorry
Will.
about that.
Or Dean. I mean,
Well, Dean was awesome too. I know you guys met Dean,
it's
right?
your
Met
show,
Dean,
Armin.
yes,
You just-
met Dean,
whatever
yep.
you want to say.
I just want to thank Will or Dean. It's Will, okay, for that. And I got that. We got the helmet.
Yeah,
so.
shout out to Will and Dave, the security guys that were in front of us the entire time at training camp. Like it was, and we've talked about it, and we will wax poetically about it in the middle of the off season when we're salivating and dreaming about football and just waiting for football to come around once again. It was an amazing experience being able to be someone behind the ropes for practice, be able to be on the perch, be able to talk and bring the listeners some vantage point, our vantage point, and a little bit behind the curtains as to training camp. And with those guys being there, the energy was just on 10. Like when Dave would fire up the Go Pack Go chant, John, I mean, that gave me absolute life in the middle of the show. And, you know, the life given by Will with copious amounts of energy drinks throughout the day.
How about that?
And I'm gonna miss camp, man.
Yes.
I'm gonna miss camp. Yesterday
I am
was
too.
a sad
Was it
day
sad?
for me.
The last
It
day of
was.
camp
It
is
was sad.
Yeah.
It was a sad last day of camp. No, and I mean, Billy, I had a lot of fun sitting up on that perch. We had ourselves a nice little canopy by the end of that thing.
Yeah.
We grew as a show. We grew as a team there. That's what camp is all about.
Oh,
You're
this is
supposed
nice.
to get better. And we got better. We got better, man.
I mean, by the end of camp, we had steak sandwiches. We
Oh,
had
yes.
we had energy
Cheese
drinks.
curds.
We had
energy
cheese
drinks.
curds. I mean, like we had markers there to be able to sign. Like it was, we actually peaked right at the end of camp. So we rolled into the regular season probably with some of our best work, which is a good deal, which is what you want to have. But it is, I always felt it, John. And you know, it's funny because yesterday, final day for the Packers camp. Today is first day of high school football. So, you know, camps are done that way too. It always was like 4 weeks of camp before we play a game. Like 3 or 4 weeks of camp before this finally goes through. And then by the end of it, you're like, damn, it really wasn't that bad. And now we actually have to get into like the every single day thing. When you're in school, you have to get back into class and then go into practice. It makes it way worse than just hanging out with your buddies all day, every day, just thinking about football.
And coming together and building those relationships and being in a place, you know, you're kind of in a captive place where we're all together. We're all in this boat together. We're rowing this boat together in a way. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's really cool. You know
and
what
your
I mean?
buddies do dumb stuff that you get to make fun of them for like 3 weeks. And those jokes, John, camp jokes,
they maintain, they sustain. Right?
Sometimes they do. Like they got to be really good ones, right, John? Or do you think that they are the ones that maintain for the entire season?
Well, it depends on what you do.
Yeah, it depends on being how good
it depends on how far you went with the prank. It depends on, you know, what you got busted doing. It depends on what was in your search history. It depends on a lot of different things here.
That's fair. Yeah, that is true.
Well,
that is true.
You know, you also probably, I don't know. For me, when I went to summer camp as a kid, now I know it wasn't football camp and all that stuff, but you felt like you lived such a longer lifetime than 2 weeks when you were at camp.
100%.
Like so much else, so much happened within that time. You felt like empires rose and fall, and you built these grandiose relationships and all these things and friendships, and all these events happened when really it was just a span of 14 days. But that's probably the part thing. And like, yeah, then now it's like, yeah, now school starts. Now you have to get back to the regular life and with everybody else in school. And, you know, like, yeah, when it was just us, you know, you miss those days.
Mom's
when it was just
like,
us at
but
camp.
you're still going to see all your friends at school,
Not
right?
the same, Mom.
Not the same, Mom.
Yeah. So that last day at camp can be sad because you're like, we built all these relationships. We don't know what it's never going to be the same
How
again.
brutal was the last day of Armenian summer
It was
camp
tough.
every year?
Last day at camp is tough, man. You know, you start to grow close to people. You start to miss them, especially when you know you're not going to see them much. If you're like me, you're an out of towner. You flew to see these people. Like I went to Boston for summer camp. It wasn't like a local thing. I wasn't going to see him around
Damn,
school.
so you were definitely the most popular dude at that camp.
Are
if
you
were the
telling me there's
out-of-towner.
not enough Armenians around here that you could just go to a camp here? You had to go all the way to swanky Boston to
a
hang
fair
out with your
question.
kind?
It's funny you say that because there is an Armenian summer camp in Wisconsin. There is one, and
But it wasn't good enough for you.
well, my cousins and my sister went to the other one, so I went to that one. I went to both. But I went to the one here just like 1 year. And
You went to both. Oh, it wasn't the same.
I think I went to
Didn't hit
the
same?
one here. I think I was too young. I think I was like 10 years old. It was too young for me to go and like really embrace it because I was like kind of missing home and stuff like that. But when I was a little older, then I went to the other camp and my cousins were there. It was a different experience.
That's
Did
awesome.
your
It was a
parents
nicer camp.
did your
It was a
parents
nicer
fly
camp.
you all the way to Boston, or
Yeah.
did they did they fly with you, or did they
No,
just
no.
put you on a plane and say good luck, see you if you make it back?
No, my sister and I went, and we would get picked up by the camp. So it was like,
At the airport.
Sweet.
yeah, the camp would come pick up out of towners at the airport. It was kind of fun.
I'm
Nice.
assuming Leon
Little
had himself
limo
a nice
ride.
job to be able to afford all these nice
It
amenities for summer
wasn't-
camp.
it
Most
wasn't-
camps you drop your kids off at,
It
or they
was
get on this big public bus all at the same time and then ride this public bus and sing songs on the way up there. Armin's sitting first class with his sister.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
And
free apple juice all day.
Let me just say, this was in the late 90s. Midwest Express still flew to Boston. So
That's fair.
Midwest,
So you
there-
knew you were getting
There
cookies.
was no first class. Everybody was, Midwest Express had good
You
rates.
were first class.
And,
Everyone.
Oh, they had the little ashtrays still in the armrest.
Better
Hey,
believe
man.
it.
You know what?
Well, and mom and dad would walk you straight up to the gate.
It wasn't that. Yeah, they did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It wasn't that expensive back then. It really wasn't. This was 20 years ago, so it wasn't that expensive. Hey, Michelle
I
called.
got bad news for you. It was more than 20 years ago, bud.
Wait a minute, one time. Oh, you're right. It was actually. What are you talking about? It's 2024. Oh gosh. Michelle called and wanted to say thanks. for
Hey,
listening.
Michelle called in.
Yeah, Michelle from Wausau. Go ahead.
Hey guys.
Hey, Michelle, how you doing?
Well, great. I don't know if you remember, I waved at you in your little perch yesterday at camp.
There's zero
Oh,
chance that we
thank
can
God
forget.
that.
Of course they remembered. Come
Yeah.
on, Michelle.
Well, there's a lot of people there. I think there was 80,000 people there. Pretty sure.
Potentially close, but only one Michelle in Wausau.
That is right.
Mm-hmm.
You are so right.
What did you see?
my
Did you
goodness,
like
wow.
what you saw from the team?
Well, I could not believe how crowded it was. I was way on the left-hand side. Now, here's something for next year. My mother and I agree.
Mm.
Somebody should be on the loudspeaker saying, okay, they're doing this drill on this side of the field right now. They could do a little more announcing, especially with the two teams. Because there were so many people on the field, and it's such a big field. If you're on one side, you don't have no idea what's going on the other side. I did see Jordan Love
Yep.
throw into the little
The best.
tent, or not tent, net.
In the
best.
He
net,
made
yeah.
one. The other guys did not make any into the net.
Well, that's why he's the starter.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Those are hard to
They
do.
They
did-
couldn't get
He
it.
did touch the corner, and I did see Keyshawn Nixon at first. It got me something's wrong with his tummy because he seemed very uncomfortable and he was on the ground, but then not on the ground, but sitting. And then I saw the new guys he just picked up, and I saw him pack rat number 98,
Yes.
Shug, or I don't know what his last name is. But I
Chad, I
noticed
believe.
him on the
Yes, from
side.
the USFL, formerly
Yeah,
of.
he's very
Yes.
big.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, big,
Very
big,
big.
thick guy. Michelle, I actually love your PA thought there, John. What do you think Matt would say of me potentially pitching the idea to be on a bullhorn or mic'd up Sean Slocum style, and we could just outline to
I'm not
everybody where
sure.
they would be, where would they be at? How do you think Matt would appreciate that?
I think we
it'd be
already
all
did
right?
that somewhat on 9 to 9.
No,
Right?
100%.
Let's just-
I'm
let's
thinking just
put
a
earbuds
big
in
in-house.
everybody's. an
Oh,
in-house
that's
one.
a good call.
We
Yes,
just put earbuds in everybody. That's the easy answer.
That's a good call. So we just do
Earbuds
it
in
walking
the
tour style.
earbuds in the iHeart app.
I like that idea.
You
Yes,
want to hear something interesting I heard?
I would love to.
Number 41, his agent was sitting right behind me and yapping the whole time about that guy's private life. It is amazing the things you hear when you are in those stands.
You're referring to Gaman Green, I believe. Is
I
that number?
sure am.
Yeah, number 41.
But I
Well,
don't think he's going to make the team. I hate to say it, but they never even let him play in any of the practice.
he's a long shot.
Was
yeah.
that a part of the agents
Okay.
conversation and the gripes in the stands?
No. he was behind me, and I just said to him, I said, "Don't you have any friends that wanted to come with you to practice?" And he said, "Well, he said something about no or something." And then somebody else said, "Well, so he said, "Oh, well, I'm an agent." And then I said, "Well, who are you an agent for?"
Right.
And then he pointed and he told me.
That's awesome.
Then me
It's good that he was there.
on the phone talking about stuff that's going on. I won't say because
Yeah,
That's probably good. Yeah, probably good, Michelle. Yeah, let's
Michelle.
probably lock that up. Michelle, thank you so much for stopping by yesterday, giving us a call.
Yeah.
It is always good to hear from
had
you.
good security. I couldn't get much close. Boy, oh boy, they're keeping the riffraff away from you.
They are something
Will-
else. Yeah, Will and
Will's
Dave are
a
something
heavy
else.
hitter.
Yeah,
He's a heavy
they
hitter.
are something else. They're not messing around. They are not messing around. Michelle, we really appreciate.
I retire. I'm moving to Green Bay, and I'm going to get one of those little red vests, and I'm going to work at Packer Practice.
Oh, I love it.
Let's go.
Let's go.
That would be the move.
There you go.
They are
Michelle.
all.
That's my goal.
We appreciate it, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
That is, I'm there again. There's no quantifiable stat here. People that work at Lambeau Field have not met one person that's not happy. That's working
No,
at Lambeau
and
Field.
Michelle fits
Would
the
be
bill.
perfect.
Last year, in the middle of the 42-day throes of a losing streak, she called in and said, "Did anybody just try baking them cookies? Did anybody just try to bake the Packers
I
cookies?
remember
You
that.
baked you
Send 'em
baked Jordan
cookies.
Love some cookies. He's getting out of this slump now."
Yeah.
Maybe that was what happened.
It's like the opposite hiring process for the DMV.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
want to be a worker at Lambeau Field, you have to never have bad days. Michelle would be a good employee at Lambeau Field.
Tell you what, her energy is always positive and infectious, and I can't imagine it would hurt. Like, let's put it that way. I mean, I can't imagine it would hurt the process because I don't know. Have they rehired Marge's role yet when she retired, John? Do they still have a seamstress area? Maybe I don't know.
Way to put him on the spot. I'm not about.
They
we'll
do
figure it
still
out.
have the area. I have not rang the doorbell since Marge's, which
Okay.
I should probably do. Stop in and say hi.
Well, maybe Michelle. Maybe there's an opening there for Michelle in retirement. She was talking about what she
Maybe
wants.
Oh,
she
that'd be
doesn't
an
wanna-
interesting one,
maybe
yeah.
she doesn't want to be stuck in a dungeon sewing, Norman. Maybe she
Yeah,
wants
that's
to
a
be
good
out
point.
there in the sun
With the
getting all
people.
fans inspired.
Well, no, whatever fits with her. I'm not telling her what you should do. Yeah.
She wants to be,
RM right away just wants
engaged.
to put the women to work.
No,
Like,
I didn't.
Goodness gracious, can they live?
I would,
Can they live a little bit? Can they have fun?
No, it doesn't have to be a woman. I would love to do that. That would be a great job for anybody that would love to.
When
When
be
did you get
Interested
that
in
number
seamstress.
7
Why did you
Chiefs
apply?
jersey?
I'm sorry.
When did you get that number 7 Chiefs jersey?
Oh no. Don't put that on me. I want everybody to work and do whatever they want in life. Don't put that
Sounds
on
like
me.
it. Sounds like it. Michelle said she wanted to be an usher. You want to
Nope.
stick her right
She'd
in the
be a-
seamstress.
She'd be a great usher. She'd be great with the people. She could
Well,
be a
maybe she could
plumber.
make them
could be a
lunch, too.
delivery- She could be a
maybe,
del-
yeah.
She could be a delivery
Maybe
driver.
do the laundry. She could do everything
I'll do
there.
it.
Just
No,
is that what you wanted
I
to do,
didn't mean
Ivan?
that at all.
Unbelievable guy.
I didn't mean that at all.
Kind of what it felt like.
All right, time for a
This
break.
guy's unreal. All
Time
right.
for a break.
Before you offend anybody else, we're going to take a
Yep,
break.
yep.
But first, we're going to read Travis and Waukesha's text. 20-year-old Armin at Armenian summer camp. Beautiful mental picture. Take that into the weekend and enjoy it
Too
for
old.
yourselves. It's 9 to noon on the game. Diana Rossini, the Scoop City podcast with Packers quarterback Jordan Love. This is 9 to noon on the game. Now, I don't know, potentially leading. I don't know that they were leading questions. Interesting questions from Diana Rossini. I do love the middle one. We've now heard Jordan discuss what draft night was like, right? When he gets selected, surprise selection, 26th overall, after the Packers trade up with Aaron Rodgers just out of the NFC title game. Yeah, I'm surprised. I didn't necessarily think that I was going to be going somewhere and sitting for that long. However, John, the thing that hasn't been talked a ton about, and I think it was one thing that has kind of gotten glossed over in the Ian O'Connor book that now everybody's been able to go and get their hands on, as it's in stores now and available on Amazon and wherever people buy books these days. I think a lot of people were hoping for more scandalous stuff of the final close to the Packers chapter. Right now, obviously they get some stuff with Gutekunst, they get some stuff there. But what I don't think people, or maybe weren't surprised by, was the fact that there really has been good reports now for the last couple of weeks, and more people are buying into it, that they were good teammates together, that they both did take things from the relationship. And clearly Jordan has taken a lot of things from Aaron, and that there wasn't the toxic nature, the back and forth that seemingly people wanted there to be between the two individuals. His problem was with management, but it never really seemed to seep over into that quarterback room, which maybe is one of the reasons why Jordan was productive in that role and was able to take things from it.
It's one of the hardest things to try and explain to fans, is the human aspect of a team and the element of being teammates with somebody else, especially in the same room, not just the same locker room, but the same position room. And you grow really tight relationships there, like Eddie Lacy and Starks and Ryan Grant and all those guys. Like, I don't talk to them all that much, but when I do see them, it's like we never left.
Yeah, pick up right where you left off.
It's the same kind of bond that we always had. And, you know, Aaron Rodgers is not a perfect human being. He's done things that, you know, that I was disappointed in at times, but, you know, he's a pretty damn good one, right? He's not perfect, but he's pretty damn good. And there many guys are happy and proud and thankful that he was their teammate. And, you know, some of us even think that we owe a lot of credit to the fact that we played alongside such great talent, right? I did hear Greg Jennings make a comment that, you know, it was because there were so many great players around Aaron, which is why he was so great, and that when those players left, he wasn't so great. I completely disagree with that notion. I think a lot of us benefited. I think a lot of us benefited from the fact that we did play with him. But 99% of the guys in the NFL, you love as your teammates, and even in years past, like. One of my favorite things about covering the Packers still is going on away trips and seeing guys in those cities. Like when we go out to San Francisco / Santa Clara every year, there's somebody that lives out there that's going to come rolling by the hotel, whether it's Desmond Bishop or Tony Mall or anybody else that lives out there. And we'll see them and we'll catch up and we'll chat, and it's great. And, you know, same thing when you go to Florida, there'll be guys, you know, like Brian Balaga lives down there around the Tampa area. I'll stop up and say hi too. So we all have that connection together, and it doesn't surprise me for a split second that Aaron and Jordan had a great relationship.
I think people assumed, because of the nature of what happened and the way things happened with Brett, that it was just an inevitability that there was going to be some sort of friction there. And because of how public the acrimonious nature of the Aaron Rodgers-Favre relationship was, that it was just going to happen again. I think people do assume things about Aaron, and I think that's what Jordan was trying to say here. Yeah. That just thought he'd be more salty about it and closed off. But one thing, I know people will feel the way they want to about Aaron, and that's fine. Everyone can have an opinion on it. One thing I'll always say, and I'll demand people will say about Aaron, is he always set Jordan up for success. There's never been one hint that he didn't support him the whole way, that he wasn't in his championing him the whole way, hoping truly for him to play well. And to this day, you know, happy for his success and rooting for his success. And that wasn't the case with Aaron and Brett. It wasn't.
It wasn't. No. It wasn't, because I'll speak on it like this. And this is not a shot at Brett Favre, but I'll just use myself as an example. When I was with Corey Hall in the backfield, right? We were best friends. We did everything together off the field. And we knew that our jobs were inversely related. Like the better I did, the less time he was going to get. And the better he did, the less time I was going to get. But I always felt like working together would bring the best out of me, because making him a better player means I have to be a better player to beat him out. Not everybody feels that way. Not everybody takes that same approach. Many guys do in the NFL. Most guys do, I would say, in the NFL because they want to win the right way. They want to win in the best form of themselves versus the best form of their competitor.
Yeah, no, and Aaron always gave Jordan that support from everything we've seen and read, which I think is a big thing. It's a big thing for Packers fans because
It is. And
you're hoping that your next guy has success for your team, obviously, and the fact that he did help him out is huge.
well, I also just think it's fascinating to then take it a step further. Like a lot of people are in on the Ryan Tannehill name. That is a name that everybody is interested in the backup quarterback job. Somebody's going to sign him. I do believe that there's one of the reasons why Ryan Tannehill doesn't have a job right now. Now, maybe it's just because he's trying to go Joe Flacco style and wants to wait till somebody gets hurt and he can handpick his situation. I don't think the Malik Willis statement is helping him at all, right? Like when you say, it's not my job to get him ready.
Yeah,
It's not my job to make him a NFL quarterback. It might not be your job, but just the way that gets portrayed means that you're going to make it difficult on him to learn the job, right? Like you don't have to, and for Brett, it still was, if he wasn't beloved by people in Green Bay, that statement would have been taken and blown up way more.
nowhere in my, what did he say? Nowhere in my contract.
In my
does it say-
contract, did it say that I need to get or Aaron Rodgers ready to play?
Hopefully he watches me and takes something from it.
Yeah, he
That
can
was-
watch
You
me
know,
and take what he wants from it.
And the best part about this is just a PR blunder, right? This is just saying the wrong things. There's nothing there. Nobody's disputing any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody.
Yeah,
But you
for sure.
could play it off so
Yeah.
much differently
Good
than the
point.
way that you did. And I agree with you, Billy. Had Brett Favre not been a part of, bringing the Packers back from the abyss that was the 70s and 80s that I listened to Red Hot talk about, you're not a real Packer fan unless you live through these years,
Yeah, never
if
let
he
you
hadn't
forget.
brought the Packers back from that, people would feel differently. But now that the Packers have had success for the last 30 years, and yes, I'm going to say it. I mean, as a franchise, they've been very successful
Oh,
for
yeah.
the last 30 years. If you heard something like that today, you'd be saying, get that guy out of here. He's
Mhm.
not about the right things. He's not about the team. He's not about the guys with him. And I genuinely believe the dynamic of the team in the 90s to the 2000s to the 2010s to where we are now is dramatically different.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've already known this. We've gone over this. That Brett was uniquely emotionally cherished by the fan base.
Oh, yeah.
He's like a one.
There was an emotional attachment that
So all that
won't be
he could have said.
duplicated.
He could have said stuff like that, and people would be like behind him. I'd be like, no problem with that, because it's the way fans approach Brett. It was emotional in a different way
For
than
sure.
anybody else.
They went
So
and bought Crocs. 414-799-1973.
Well,
Matt,
nobody forgets their first time, right? And nobody forgets. That's what Brett was.
True,
He was
yes.
the first Super Bowl for a lot of Packer fans. The
Yeah.
first one in a very, very long time. And even the ones that saw the last Super Bowl II, they had a special affinity to Brett Favre as well, because it was 9 years later.
took you out of the darkness. Yeah,
29.
no doubt about it. 414-799-1973. All right, Matt Schneidman joins the conversation on the other side of this timeout. Tuesdays and Fridays, we hang out with Schneidman and get a full report or a final judgment on his week of practice and the joint practice, and lead us into preseason game finale, the final one against the Baltimore Ravens, coming up tomorrow at noon. You'll hear it on the game. We're back on the game right after this.
Riverside, sip whiskey out the bar, living like we'll never die. Come on and stay a while. If you don't believe me, why would I ever leave? 'Cause I know I got some good. billboard, baby, do a leap and make them dance when they come on. Everybody looking for a dance floor to run on.
If you wanna run away with me, I know a galaxy and I can take you for a ride. I had a premonition that we fell into a rhythm where the music don't stop for life. Glitter in the sky.
9 to noon on the game. Hang out with Matt Schneidman, 10 o'clock, Tuesdays, Fridays. Get you ready for Packers football into the weekend. Matt Schneidman had a great announcement over the week that Matt LaFleur is going to be joining, potentially having some conversations that we are going to be able to potentially discuss at some particular point in time. But Matt, as you look right now from what you were able to see yesterday at joint practice, what was the most exciting thing to be able to witness outside of the play on the field, right? Because like you were able to see the auxiliary stuff. I know a lot of people were excited to witness Lamar Jackson talking to Jair Alexander. I like the Zay Flowers, Jeff Hafley connection. What was your favorite auxiliary part yesterday before we get into the nuts and bolts and the X's and O's of what we saw?
This is going to be multitasking right here because I timed the cooking of my morning omelet poorly, so it's about to burn. So I'm just taking it off the stove right now.
It's okay. We don't want it to burn. 6 eggs, spinach.
5, Armin.
Sorry, I didn't know you.
Oh, he's leaning out now. He's got to get.
Jeez, Armin.
I didn't know you were running from the grind.
I enjoyed the bikes, but unlike in Denver, when I watched the Packers offense against the Denver defense, I watched the Packers defense against the Baltimore offense yesterday. And the thing that struck me was just how much pressure these guys are getting in the backfield. Now, look, I understand that Derrick Henry in the running game, these joint practices aren't really designed to get the running game going. You're not allowed to live tackle. I understand Derrick Henry's going to get his yards, and that's going to take some pressure off of the Packers or put more pressure on the Packers pass rush and kind of not allow them to just pin their ears back. I also understand Lamar Jackson would be able to scramble and probably evade some of these pressures and sacks. But I think Jeff Hafley has to be pretty happy with the activity of his guys in the backfield yesterday. And it was everybody. Kenny Clark, TJ Slayton, Kingsley Enagbare, Lucas Van Ness, Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary. It's still preseason. It's still just a practice, but I think it was an encouraging sign for the Packers to see what we've been hearing about all camp against their own guys translate to the field against another team. And Jair Alexander said it yesterday. He said he thought the Ravens thought they were going to try and come in and out-physical the Packers. They are known for being a smash-mouth team, and Jair said that didn't happen today, at least not on our side of the ball. So an overall solid day for the Packers, I would say.
Oh, okay, great. So, watching it from afar, like we were up on the perch yesterday, it kind of looked like Lamar Jackson and Josh Johnson had their way a little bit with the Packers defense. That's not the case, though.
No, not at all.
Well, I saw your tweet saying that our defensive line was eating, or what was your line? Defensive line was
I think I
feasting.
Said. Listen, they had their fair share of plays. They had some big gains, definitely. And as I said, it's impossible to tell what would actually happen in the run game during these practices. A, because we're at kind of a side view on the sideline, and B, because there's no live tackling, so you don't know. If
can I interrupt for 1 second?
Sure.
Just a quick question. Bill Huber put out Jordan Love's stats, Ryan Wood put out Jordan Love's stats in the red zone versus the Ravens defense. Did you keep any tally of Ravens stats in the red zone against our defense?
Not specifically, no, since I was just kind of honed in on the Packers instead of, I guess I'm obviously watching the Ravens offense and the Packers defense, but I didn't keep track of specific Ravens stats. They did have a very lengthy red zone period, and I think Paul Brettel, who is another beat writer for the team, said the Ravens ran 15 plays. I think he counted 15 plays, and the only 3 that I saw did actual damage were touchdown passes to, I think, Charlie Kohler, who's their tight end, one to Zay Flowers, and then Keyshawn Nixon had a defensive pass interference face guarding someone in the end zone. Other than that, there was pretty consistent pressure. I think that was the period where the Packers did the best, was in the red zone. And that was obviously primarily a passing period. So I didn't keep exact stats, but I definitely think from watching that side of the ball all day that the Packers defense got the better of them.
Definitely got the better of them in 2 minutes. That was nice to see.
Yeah.
The Packers moved the ball in 2 minutes. and the Ravens not necessarily be able to move the ball very well in 2 minutes. What did you think of and I guess it's going to be a hard question. You're probably not going to be able to answer, but you did see it in 2 minutes. The Michael Pratt, Sean Clifford, that's a big conversation right now because I don't think that job is sealed.
No, neither do I. And we saw Michael Pratt take some twos snaps last week, the week before, in 2 minutes. And we didn't know if it was injury related, performance related. And then Sean Clifford comes back and is the backup in the games. And, he resumed being the backup in practice. And now Michael Pratt is again the backup quarterback, quote unquote, in the 2 minute drill. And he led them down into field goal range. They tied the score. So I'm interested to see who's up first in the game tomorrow, because that's probably the best indicator of who they view as the number 2 guy right now. I still think they take 2 quarterbacks on the roster. As of now, I still think it's Sean Clifford, but if Michael Pratt steps foot on the field before Sean Clifford tomorrow, I might have to change my decision.
Yeah, seeing him go in the final 2 minute, just very interesting. Would be interesting to see. I looked at Wayne Larrivee and John up in the perch yesterday and said, could you see Pratt going in first tomorrow? They're like, no. But if he did, I guess I shouldn't be all that surprised, because it does feel like it is closer. Matt, would you say it's closer now than it's been throughout camp?
I don't ever think it's been far away, really.
Fair. Yep.
Neither guy has really distinguished themselves.
Yeah.
And especially for Sean Clifford, I think that might be a concern because, yes, he's only in his second year, but you would expect a guy who's had a year in the offense, had a year in preseason games, would maybe take a step while you can keep Michael Pratt on the practice squad, develop him. But the fact that there hasn't been any of that distinguishing, I think bodes well for Pratt, especially late here. If he goes in tomorrow and outplays Clifford, neither of these guys are getting claimed. I think there's probably a higher likelihood that Clifford gets claimed because, like I said last week on the show, I believe, or earlier this week, I think it was, if one of the other teams in the NFC North has like a spare roster spot or needs a backup quarterback, do they just pick up Sean Clifford and get the nitty gritty on all of Green Bay's offensive stuff? So that's the only reason why I had Sean Clifford on my 53. But if Michael Pratt outplays him, I think they take Pratt. And then at the end of the day, I'm probably wrong. Both guys probably clear waivers. So whoever gets cut probably ends up on the practice squad. So it's probably a moot point. But that'll be the main quote-unquote battle I'm watching tomorrow.
John, what team do you think would sign him just to be able to get all those details?
Vikings.
I mean, come on.
Vikings, Lions, Bears. Oh my, it could be any of them.
I have Dallas Cowboys. I'd be interested.
I swear to you, I have seen that happen. In fact, when I went down to New Orleans, it was tell us everything. Give us every little detail, secret, nuance that the Green Bay Packers do, and not just with their game plan, how they do their operations. How did you guys practice? What did you guys do for treatment at the facility? What day did you take as your off day, your load management day during the week? Like, they wanted to know everything. And, part of that was I was an 11-year vet in the NFL at that time, so they could trust a lot of the stuff that I was saying. But man, if you can get a quarterback in there to start telling you what you're looking at, what you're seeing, and you're paying him a roster spot to be, top-notch espionage, I don't think that a team won't do that.
Guess what? I'm looking at the Vikings depth chart right now. Obviously, they lost J.J. McCarthy for the season. Sam Darnold's their starter. Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall are their backups.
Yeah.
We saw both of those guys last year. They stink. For the Bears, I believe Tyson Bagent is their backup.
Yeah, he played last night pretty well.
For the Lions, I believe it's Hendon Hooker. So Sean Clifford's probably a definitive upgrade over the Vikings. So could the Vikings bring in Sean Clifford if the Packers release him, waive him, and say, guess what, pal? I know you like Jordan Love, but your loyalty to them is out the window. We're giving you a paycheck, and the only way we're going to continue giving you a paycheck is if you tell us everything about Jordan Love and how to stop him, and everything about that Packers offense and how to stop him. And guess what? Sean Clifford's going to do it because that's who's going to be signing his checks. So unless Michael Pratt significantly in the Packers' eyes is better than Sean Clifford. And like I just said to Billy, I don't think it's a significant gap one way or the other. I think Sean Clifford makes the team for that reason.
Who do you think has the most to gain tomorrow?
Emmanuel Wilson, because
100%.
AJ Dillon's stinger still is kind of in that gray area. We don't know how long he's going to be out. He missed 3 games with a stinger at the end of last season. Matt LaFleur said this week there's always concern when someone has a repeat injury. AJ missed 2 practices with a stinger. I doubt he plays tomorrow. If that lingers into the regular season, he could start the season on IR. And I believe I explained this earlier, and I'm sure you guys have talked about it. The IR rules in preseason are different this year. Normally, if you go on IR before cut down day, you're out for the whole season. You have to be. Now, if you get put on IR before cut down day, the teams can designate 2 guys who they do that with to return during the season. It counts to the total 8 guys you can bring back from IR during the season, but you don't. It's for guys who would otherwise make the 53 surefire that are too hurt to start the season on the 53. So A.J. Dillon and Marshawn Lloyd could both be in that category. Marshawn Lloyd's been out for 2 weeks now with a hamstring. A.J. Dillon, we don't know what to deal with his stingers. If Emmanuel Wilson puts forth another solid performance, I think maybe that makes the Packers more comfortable with starting Dillon or Lloyd on IR.
Well, AJ's in an interesting spot, isn't he? I mean, he's an established name, but a kind of a contract and roster spot that's never been guaranteed this preseason. We saw one small glimpse in the first game of whatever he claimed it was a 98 rate. Grading,
98%,
but it just seemed
98%
pedestrian, and he hasn't played since. So it's a really interesting spot to see what's going to go down with AJ. And maybe that is the most obvious option, Matt, is that IR designation, because I think the Packers would love to have him around at that price, but I don't know. Maybe he's not going to make this team. It's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen. I would have expected him to be back by now from the stinger, but who knows? It's a weird injury.
Yeah,
I have calls. I have calls for concern because you talk about reoccurring. When I started getting stingers, I never stopped. I would get 3 a game, right? When they start, they're hard to stop. So my calls for concern is this more serious than just your general run-of-the-mill stinger? And is this a reoccurring, very serious neck injury or very serious pinched nerve injury where he's damaged the nerve so bad that it is going to take 3 weeks, 4 weeks? My cause for concern is that this could be something where the next big hit he takes, he's also shut down for another 3 to 4 weeks, because once I started getting stingers, they never stopped coming. I would get them all the time. So to me, Emmanuel Wilson is a guy, I'm not even sure we know what his upside is yet, Matt. I don't, because we only got to see him in very limited time in the regular season last year, very limited. And how would he be as a true backup to Josh Jacobs? Can he handle that workload? We know for a fact A.J. Dillon can handle that workload as the RB2 very well. We know that. And we're expecting that RB2 workload to be less than what it has been in years past, based off of the load management that they did with Darren Jones and what they expect to use Josh Jacobs in. Could Emmanuel Wilson fit that role? Or do you have to still, caution and say, well, we know what A.J. Dillon does give us. We have to keep him.
Yeah, I think a big part of that is obviously, and this, the pass catching and pass protection side of it. The Packers are going to need Emmanuel Wilson to run, which he has proven capable of doing. But in talking to Ben Sermons a couple weeks ago, he didn't seem so sure that Emmanuel Wilson is there yet with the other aspects of his game. So if he's going to be RB2 to start the season, and again, let's say Dillon or Lloyd comes back before the season and they're RB2. Even if Marshawn Lloyd comes back, I don't know if he's RB2 because of the time he's missed. Emmanuel Wilson might start the season above him on the depth chart if Dillon goes on IR. But Emmanuel Wilson's going to have to shore up the other aspects of his game, because you got to be able to catch passes and block if you're not going to be the bell cow. And you have to do that stuff even if you are the bell cow like Josh Jacobs is. So,
and last year's preseason, he kind of had that pop moment that he didn't really have yet this preseason, I think.
Right.
And yard touchdown, yeah.
And listen, I don't think Matt LaFleur is billing whatever backfield he has this year as 1A and 1B or 1A and 1A, because He's done that in the past and it hasn't worked out. So Josh Jacobs is the very clear-cut 1A. He's going to get a massive workload. And he leads the league, or doesn't lead the league, second in the NFL in both rushing yards and carries since he entered the league, behind Derrick Henry in both. So he can handle the workload. But that RB2 spot now becomes a little more wary. Packers got to be wary of that because you need a great number 2 running back in this league. And we know A.J. Dillon can be serviceable in that role. The other 2 guys have not shown that yet, obviously. Can they show it tomorrow?
Well, I don't think it necessarily needs to be just A.J. Dillon. When Marshawn Lloyd comes back from the hamstring, they're going to start creating packages for him. 3 plays in this game, 4 plays in this game, 5 plays in this game, until by the end of the season, I think he is RB2. If he gets that hamstring back to 100% and he is progressing, I believe he will be RB2 by the end of the season. But they'll start off with a package for him, A.J. Dillon to take the spare Josh Jacob reps in the middle of a series when it's a 10-play drive, or on 3rd down for Josh Jacobs if he needs a blow on that end. Emmanuel Wilson, where exactly can he fit in? I think he can do all of that stuff. I think he can do all of that stuff well, but we just don't know until you actually see it. All right, on the defensive side, Matt, it looks like Javon Bullard's definitely going to start opposite Xavier McKinney. But when Evan Williams keeps doing the stuff that he is doing at practices, he just produces. And I said, you might not remember this name, but Micah Hyde, when he was here, same number, same kind of spot. Didn't know if he was safety, didn't know if he was corner, but he just made plays. They have to find a way to get him in the ball game. But I don't know where you're going to put him.
You want to hear a quote from Jair Alexander yesterday?
Yes.
Lay it on us.
Well, not here because I don't have the audio, but read.
What if we said no? We're not going to say no.
Evan Williams had his 5th interception of camp yesterday. And Evan Williams, one of the best guys to talk to in that locker room already, breaks down the plays almost to a level where you can't understand what he's saying because he gets so into football lingo.
I love that.
And very quickly on the starting lineup, Javon Bullard right now is the starting safety alongside Xavier McKinney. But if Evan Williams is making plays like this, you got to find a way to get him on the field. And we've seen the alignments with Evan Williams as the deep safety alongside McKinney, with Bullard down low, with Nixon and dime. But is there a scenario, maybe not week 1, week 4, week 8, where we see Bullard as the nickel and Williams and McKinney as the safeties, and then the Packers would have to pay Keyshawn Nixon, $6 million to return kicks? Is that worth it?
So what? He's returning more kicks this year, but I definitely think you just hit the nail on the head there.
So let me read this quote from Jair. He was asked about Evan Williams yesterday. Evan is a ball hawk. He reminds me a lot of Micah Hyde. Something always around the ball. Someone able to make plays, just naturally too. He has a knack for it. I can't wait to see him on the field.
That's a nice name to be with.
Do you think Jair stole that from me?
I think you stole it from him.
No chance. He just said it yesterday. I've been saying it for 3 weeks, but
I know.
Maybe you guys are the same guy.
Maybe great minds just think alike, but it's eerily similar the way he makes these plays and he finds himself around the football. It's just an incredible knack for how to play the position. But I do agree with you, Matt. You got to find your best 11, your 11 playmakers on the field. And strangely enough, I think that might be Keyshawn Nixon slowly being worked out as the nickel on this team. He's still got a spot in dime, still will have a spot in dime, but I think he potentially will be worked out in the nickel position as they move along this season.
It's possible. I'm always hesitant because there have been a handful of plays this camp where Keyshawn Nixon has been trailing the guy who caught the ball. I will add the caveat of we never know for sure who's at fault on these defensive breakdowns, if you want to call it that, because we don't know the exact responsibilities of guys. All we can do is say, here's the guy who was closest to the completion. And maybe that's even a little misleading, and that's on me because who knows? Maybe Keyshawn's just trying to make up for someone else's error. But if Keyshawn Nixon doesn't turn out to be the nickel, and he obviously has professed on Twitter that he is the nickel, could we see Javon Bullard in there? It's about getting your best 5 out there. We hear that so much on the offensive line, but guess what? Same goes for the secondary.
Is there any way that they could see that Sean Ryan or that Jordan Morgan is part of their best five before they kick off in Brazil, or is that locked in coming up tomorrow?
I think they want him to be part of their best five. I don't believe he did any team yesterday. I was not watching that side of the field, but I didn't see any tweets.
Mm-mm.
No. So I don't know if they're going to throw him in there tomorrow. If he doesn't do tomorrow, would they have enough ramp up for him to be comfortable putting him out there against, the Jalen Carters, the Jordan Davises against the Eagles? But like they were training him solely at right guard before his injury, and Sean Ryan was at all three spots. So I think they want him to be the right guard, but this injury may have set them back. Maybe he is a couple weeks into the season when he can get enough reps, but I don't know.
I just don't know how you can possibly start him week 1 in Brazil in that atmosphere against that team when Sean Ryan has had the camp that he has had. He has looked very good. He's always been a good run blocker, and his pass pro, Billy, you've been watching the one-on-ones with me. His pass pro, whether it's versus our guys or whether it's versus Denver or whether he had the best one-on-ones versus Denver out there, aside from Elton Jenkins. Yesterday, I thought his one-on-ones were great. He has really ramped up his game. It's like he took this opportunity and said, hey, it's year 3 for me. If I'm ever going to earn the job, I got to do it while this guy is hurt right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's earned it here for week 1. And then he's not a stranger to sub and drives. That doesn't bother him. You saw it last year. I could see them working Jordan Morgan in a drive here and there throughout the season until they finally feel like they've seen enough to make that switch.
Do you think that then they curtail his play tomorrow, Sean Ryan's that being, knowing that he's most likely starting coming up in Brazil?
I will say this. There are some guys that get that benefit of the doubt, and there are some guys that aren't. And when you're a guy who was initially pegged to be the backup and you just played, what do you play, 60 plays against Denver out there?
I think
Matt?
Royce Newman was like the only guy that played more.
Yeah,
he played every snap. That can't be a good thing.
Him as a guy, he's a worker, he's a grinder, and there are glue guys. You hear that term all the time?
Yeah.
I think he's a glue guy. I think he goes out there. I think he plays tomorrow, and I wouldn't be surprised if he starts week 1.
Matt, I want my boy Travis Glover on the team. I don't know how we're going to figure that thing out, but that big son of a gun needs to be on the football team. I don't know how that works. I don't know. You do your magic on the roster manipulation and projection coming up hopefully tomorrow after the game. Just find a way to get Travis Glover on the football team, okay? Can you do that for me?
Just for you, absolutely.
And I'm nervous that you got to
That's a
get to
guy.
them eggs because they must be cold by now. You got to get to those eggs, man.
What
Yeah.
do you mean? You put tinfoil over them. It's fine.
I know, but just reheating eggs is not easy. So.
Okay, well, you go enjoy those eggs, man. We appreciate it. We're sorry we kept you so long.
Or do you put salt and pepper, any hot sauce, ketchup, like cheese, anything on them?
Yeah, pepper and hot sauce.
Oh, there
Good
you
call.
go.
That's
Oh,
the right
good.
move.
No salt.
That's the right answer.
No salt.
No, don't need that.
He's got enough of that in his personality.
You keep and you keep that cholesterol low, Matt. All right, we'll talk tomorrow. We'll see you there.
Thanks, guys.
That's Matt Schneidman of The Athletic and theathletic.com and star of the Matt Schneidman Show right here on 97.3 The Game. 9 to noon returns right after this.
John Kuhn here for Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. And how do you say welcome when your guests come over? Well, you should say it with the new entry door from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin because it's the first thing anybody sees when they come over, and you can make it memorable with Pella. You should also say it with color. The possibilities are endless thanks to Pella's custom colors. Pick nearly any color in the rainbow. You should also say it with class. Pella's premium doors stand out due to their distinguished craftsmanship, and because you pick every detail, you will love how your doors look. And finally, you should say it with a great deal. And that's 0% interest for up to 3 years with no money down and equal payments. Now, say it with me. 0% interest, 3 years, no money down and equal payments, but you got to hurry. That offer ends August 31st. Certain restrictions apply. See Chevron for details. And please, when you do, tell Gina Della that John Kuhn sent you. Visit PellaWI.com today.
That is Lamar Jackson yesterday discussing his, interesting bike attempt to practice as Lamar was riding a thick-wheeled bike yesterday. He got a good one yesterday on his ride over to
It's
Raininsky
called fat
Field.
tire.
I heard
It's
he
called
got a fat tire.
bike.
He got a fat tire bike. That's what he
Mhm.
got, right? With like, those were like the when I was a kid. Those are the bikes the kids with like the mountain dirt bike type guys, or like the trick bike guys would have the big pegs and they were doing trick bikes. They weren't
Sure.
like the regular Huffy bikes. So I don't know. By the way, I want to thank.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
The fat tires are for a smoother ride on the road. They have a much smoother ride. but
Zero
they're
clue.
they're also bikes that you can ride in the snow. A lot of fat
Mm,
tire
that
bikes.
makes
in the
sense.
snow.
Makes sense. I just thought they were for like guys.
No
trying to do,
thanks.
like,
I'm not going to be riding a bike in the snow.
Aren't those like BMX trick bikes and stuff like that?
Those are like the smaller ones, like you mentioned with the pegs on the back.
That's what I thought. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I had a bike. I think the bike we got was from a rummage sale when I was a kid.
When's the last time you rode a bike?
It's been a long time, unfortunately. I've been thinking
Yeah.
about getting one and
college.
trying to ride one, but it's been a long time. I don't even have one
Well,
right
then
now.
Why are you thinking about it?
Well, I do the walks. I'm like, well, maybe taking up some biking again would be kind of fun.
I think so.
Just a,
Then you
just a
thought better
thought.
of it.
I just haven't done it.
You're ready to step it up from
I haven't-
walking. He's ready to amp up his
He's like,
game
"Yeah,
from
no, I'm
walking
good."
to riding a bike. Armin, I'm very proud
Thank
of you
you.
and your ambition to
Attaboy.
be a healthier human being. That is
Last-
fantastic out of you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great. Last time
Oh, yeah.
Rode what
Doesn't
was
seem
more
very
convicted.
excited
No,
about it.
they
now.
were
Well,
no
we
Doesn't seem
went
convicted.
to,
excited about it.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah,
2
it's
years ago.
something.
We went to Mackinac Island. The one in Michigan that has
No.
Yeah.
no cars.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just only
Sure.
We went for a wedding and rented bikes and biked. That was the last time I did it.
Don't they have some of the bluest water in the world? there,
It's
too?
pretty nice up there. It is. The problem is it's all horses there, so it smells like horse poop. The whole island smells like horse crap.
Yeah, I can think of
It's a
worse
night.
things.
I mean, how much?
Sounds like Champaign, Illinois.
It's cool for 48 hours. Like
Yeah, it's
oh,
Iowa. Basically, it's
Yeah.
Iowa on the water.
Yeah,
Well,
no
how
kidding.
much fudge can you buy and eat? I mean, it's so
Well, especially
all
when
of
it
it.
smells like horse poop.
it's a
all of it.
lot of
Who
like
wants to eat
fudge.
fudge when
Yeah,
it smells
right.
like horse poop?
That's
Yeah.
a tough deal.
It's a
Yeah.
cute island though. I want to really quick give credit to Timothy Latau from
He
WF.
doesn't smell like horse poop.
Yeah, WFRV
Got it,
was the one that had the audio. So I want to make sure he's the one that got that mic in the face of Lamar and got that deal from
Give credit where credit's due.
got
to.
Yeah,
What's up?
I love
and
that.
former Marquette MUTV intern, Marquette
Oh,
TV.
okay.
Intern. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
maybe a little
Student
favoritism here.
director.
Maybe a little favoritism here in that credit giveaway.
Hold on. Oh, he
No.
was a director of the
Or
internship.
it says
of the-
exec. His Twitter says former executive news producer, Marquette Television.
Hold on. I thought he was a buddy of yours that you went to Marquette
No,
with.
no, younger guy. I don't know him. I don't know the guy. It's
Oh,
it's
okay,
it's on
let's
his
go.
profile.
Let's go,
Oh,
Golden
he's a
Eagles.
younger guy.
He's no
He's still Golden
favoritism.
Eagles.
Part
Let's
of
go.
Billy's generation.
There's maybe. Yeah, there's no
or
favoritism.
Bruzowitz's generation. Might be even younger than I.
That's super young.
Yeah,
There's
super
no
young.
way somebody. Nick Bruzowitz isn't getting that type of material. He isn't getting that.
You don't think so?
Now a way
He
smaller
hasn't been in the
microphone
game
too.
long
Yeah,
enough.
it'd be a
That's
much
true.
smaller
Ambitious enough.
microphone.
It's true. He had a regular Tim Latau here. Timothy Latau had a regular microphone.
Let's go, Tim. Proud of you, Tim.
Nick's got to work on the little mini mic.
we
like-
got to have bigger mic energy.
And I like that he's
Is Tim Latau his real name or did he change it?
good question. Timothy Latau. Am I
I
pronouncing
don't
it
think
right?
I don't think you're changing something to Latau. Like
What are
I
you
just
saying about his name? What are you saying?
it's easily mispronounced and difficult to spell. That's what they
Okay.
told me about my name when they told me that I should change my name. It easily mispronounced, easily misspelled.
I
Well,
guess.
how do you mispronounce Schmid? Is
Schmidt.
it Schmidt or Schmidt? Schmidt. Well, that's close
But
enough.
it's,
I mean,
but
how-
it's
no
not,
I've worked with you for over a
Yeah,
year.
but-
I'm still not sure which one it is.
but
Yeah.
it's not that wrong either. You get my point?
But
Like,
it is when you're looking for somebody, right?
Yes.
When you're searching somebody out for the brand. So that's why they were told. That's why it was told me, hey, let's cut that thing. All right, let's get that thing out of here. Still, it's one of my favorite things Tim Allen ever said to me. Like, what's your name, man? Billy Schmid. There's wide-eyed, bushy-tailed. Listen to Tim Allen for all these years, all excited me. He goes, "You're gonna have to change that name." Damn. All right.
Why?
Sweet. Sounds good.
That's a
Welcome,
good-
welcome to radio.
That's a good
So
name.
a guy that you listened to for years, that you looked up to immensely,
Crap,
told you to
right
change your name, and you said no. Like,
No,
you
yeah.
stood right up to him.
No, and actually, even better, John. Then I just annoyed the absolute bleep out of him for like 6 or 8 months, and then somehow he ended up wanting me to be on the post game show. But he hated me for the first
See?
like 2 or 3 months.
Tim Allen, somewhat of a fake name. Tim
Mhm.
Scott, completely fake name.
Mhm.
Like Tim Brusiewicz or whoever Armin said there.
No,
That's gotta
Tim
be a fake
Latow.
name.
Timothy Latow. Nick Brusiewicz is on our staff, John.
Yeah, I almost forgot him.
This guy also was an intern at Saratoga.
Armin, I know who Nick is.
No, not
Darn
Nick.
it,
I'm
he
talking
filled
about-
in for you for
I know.
your entire paternity leave
I know that.
while you were at home, changing diapers and
Big
sweating
one,
away.
big diapers. Yeah, I mean, like,
Nick was in here
Oh, okay,
handling,
don't talk about your daughter.
handling
like
the
that.
board.
no, she's had some really good,
Some
she's
serious
healthy,
deals here,
some
or
healthy
what?
poops. She's had some healthy poops.
That's what's
lately.
up right there.
She's eating. I mean, that's what you want out of her. She
That
gives you-
is a good thing.
She gives
for
you
a
that
child.
little smile. I'm like, oh, I think she just laid one down again. You know,
She have her spot yet? Like where it's kind of, well, I guess she's not moving around. That was the one thing. Once Carson was able to crawl and or walk, when he went into his little car, he'd close the door, and you're like, okay,
that was
it's go
that was
time.
it.
All right, bub. He kind of look over. He gives you like that half-hearted kind of smile, frown, grunt. Like,
Yeah,
you okay, buddy? Like,
Yeah.
stop looking at me.
I'm pushing it out here.
Yeah,
you know?
chill out over there, guys.
That's
I'll let you know when it's done.
It's pretty cool that he had his own little area.
He got his own
going.
little spot. He got his own little spot. He's like, all right, don't bug me for about 5 minutes.
I love that.
I'm
Give me,
focusing.
and give me a paper, Dad.
Yeah.
All right, give me the paper.
Can Sports Illustrated for Kids be in here next time? Could you give me the updated Brewers yearbook? I'm still looking at the 2022 yearbook, and I've ripped out 15 pages of here. I don't have a John Del Gustave page to rip out anymore. All right.
Oh yeah.
Let's get something updated here. 414-799-1973. We're going to update you on our thoughts on who has the most to gain. Now, Emmanuel Wilson, easy winner right there. But who might have the most to lose tomorrow, and who could be able to be passed up upon tomorrow for the Packers roster as the final cut down day comes up next week? We had a text on Talking Text Line asking us when that officially is. It is the 27th at 5 p.m. Because why wouldn't something be in prime time when it's the NFL? They've moved everything from in the middle of the workday to prime time because the NFL Network probably has a 4-hour roster cut down special to be highlighting all those final 53s or initial 53s that we get in the middle of it. All right, 414-799-1973. It's 9 to noon statewide on the game with John Kuhn, Billy Schmid, and Armin Sarian with all of you.
Just say the thing that you said to me yesterday. I know he said that it was on my thing. Something's going down, that's the way it seems.
Guys, the best time of year is almost here. Regular season football action. None of this preseason stuff. Let's get this out of the way so we can feast on the buffet that is the NFL season and join the millions of fans that made money making picks last year on Underdog Fantasy. It's so much fun and super easy to get started. You could win up to 325 times your money in a single night right from your couch. All you got to do is pick higher or lower on a player's stats. That's it. Between 2 to 8 players to build out your pick'em entry, and making picks on Underdog is super simple. My favorite part is they update your stats, let you know how close your picks are to hitting. It's even easier to get started. Download the app today or go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Yeah, you can sign up on your computer as well using promo code Billy, Billy. Underdog will give you a highly discounted pick to use on your first pick'em entry, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's Underdog Fantasy. Promo code Billy to claim your new customer special of a gimme first pick and your deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Must be 18 plus and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. don't know where this would fall in on the breaking news category, John Kuhn, Armin Sarian, but it's definitely newsworthy, and it is really piquing my interest. So within the last hour, the Pro Football Hall of Fame has revised its bylaws governing the annual selection process for people to go into the Hall of Fame. Now, it came out while we were discussing all the Packers happenings with Matt Schneidman. And we were talking about, his eggs and how he takes them and all that kind of stuff. So I was reading through some of this to try to make sure that I have it dialed in here. The most notable thing, and the one that jumped off the page to me, which is the biggest piece and maybe the most interesting when discussing coaches and the selection process to be put in and enshrined in the Hall of Fame, is the moratorium period, right? Where everybody has to wait 5 full years to then be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Well, the waiting period now for coaching candidates to the Hall of Fame has been reduced from 5 seasons to just 1 season out of the game.
It's kind of weird.
That's for Bill Belichick.
Is it?
The Bill Belichick rule comes in with Bill Belichick now being out of the game for a year. Is that what this is? Is that they're announced that this is the new Bill Belichick rule, that they're going to put him in and enshrine him into Canton coming up next year?
Yeah, probably. I would imagine that. And but here's the deal: is you got coaches like Pete Carroll, you got coaches like Bill Belichick, and I'm just going to be frank and human about this. As they creep up there in age into their 70s,
True,
having to wait 5 years, you might start to think, okay, where are they going to be? Are they going to be able to give an induction speech at 75 years old? Are they going to? I mean, you got to think about guys' health.
Yeah,
you do.
Yes.
When you hit 70, that's a serious age. And I don't think either one of them are in bad health, but you just got, a lot can happen in 5 years. So I don't think there's anything wrong with this. And, maybe it's when you hit a certain age, it's only 1 year, or maybe but I don't mind this. This doesn't bother me one bit.
But how do you know they're out? Like, if is Bill Belichick out of coaching for you?
that's why he might end up being the only Hall of Famer
that's coaching
to then coach in the NFL. If he sits out for 2 years and then goes and takes a job in 2026,
sure,
as a Hall of Famer actively then coaching. Like,
Yeah,
I find it fascinating. I also think, guys, Bill might just not want to coach anymore. He might just want to make money doing TV, enjoy, and hang out with his now 24-year-old girlfriend that everyone seems to be very, very interested
he's got to
in
help her
discussing
with the
about.
philosophy homework.
Yeah, right? I mean, got to get that doctorate, potentially.
And that's
Or
what
maybe not.
Maybe he wants to do some stuff at home. Maybe he wants to cook the dinners, Armin. Maybe he wants to.
Maybe he wants to go back to school and get into some philosophy homework.
which is totally fine.
I
mean,
do
role
wonder-
reversal is no big deal.
Saban and Belichick go into their media roles, Billy. Do they love it? Do they hate it? Do they say, wow, I am not grinding in the dark room of film for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on end? I can watch, 4 hours of film throughout the week at my house on my computer, and it's so much better now. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're still diving into the film, but they're doing it at home, so they feel so much better. Or do they say, gosh, I just miss it? It is an intoxicating place. Every locker room I walk into, I get that feel. Again, I get that grind, that itch, on the back of your neck. You're like, man, this is where I was meant to be. And maybe that's what they get, and they have to come back and get into this thing. But it is interesting. What will he do? I think Bill Belichick wants that win total. And I think he's probably going to be the last guy to be able to get that win total here. How many away is Andy Reid from Don Shula's? What is it? 347.
Oh gosh, let me look it up. I mean, it's got to be.
I believe it's 14 games for Bill Belichick. That's all he needs. You can get that in 2 years. 7-10 and 7-10, and you got those 14 games.
Reid has 284.
Yeah, Reid's a ways away. 284.
But that's what?
So 347.
4 or 5 seasons worth?
Yeah, so
you can
Andy,
get it.
But there was some talk about Andy Reid retiring after this past year. Remember? There was some talk
Sure.
about that.
Sure.
So, Andy Reid is probably the next one. If Belichick doesn't go for this, if Andy Reid doesn't go for this, that record is staying for a long, long time. And
I
that's why I
agree.
think Andy Reid could potentially, Bill Belichick could potentially say, hey, this is going to be the last real chance for someone to do this. Let's do this.
Sort of like the 300 win record in baseball, or not record, but mark, where less guys are going to be able to hit it.
Yeah, no one's going to be hitting that anymore.
I think, though, there are, head coaches in the NFL are younger than they've ever been, though, in a way.
Very much so.
So maybe
yeah.
if some of those guys do sustain a full,
Why do you think that is, Armin?
I don't know. I think the trend just changed at some point for younger, innovative guys. It started with Shanahan, I guess, and then all those other guys started coming in. Some work out, some don't. Cliff Kingsbury, take your pick. So
Do you think these young guys are just going to recycle through the NFL?
that's the thing. I don't know if they'll have this. They'll stay as long. They might not want to work as long.
I
wouldn't.
think
McVay was
the
already talking about wanting to go into TV.
Yes.
right.
almost.
I wouldn't do it. Yeah.
and I've heard Matt LaFleur make the same comment too. When I'm done coaching, I'm getting into media.
I'll pass.
This is a kind of young man's game because it is so much more competitive than what it used to be. It used to be you got a great coach, and that coach will come in, and even on bad years, they'd say, "Okay, but we got a great coach. We'll be back. We'll do this." Now it's different. Now it's so highly competitive. All it takes is 1 or 2 years of a downturn, and then you could be out.
Then you're out. Yeah.
The down year for the Rams was because their quarterback was injured for the whole season, and that burnt Sean McVay out to the point where he almost called it quits. But it's not a lot of times the coach calling it quits. It's the team saying no
thanks. Right.
We'll move to the next new young fashionable thing.
And the burnout factor is higher for coaches now. I think it is more of it's a year-round stressful grind more than it used to be. We can fetishize the old days all we want. There's no way. There were real off seasons back in the day. There isn't anymore. These guys are grinding 24 hours a day. So I think the burnout factor is a little higher, where more guys are going to say, I've had enough. I've got enough money. I'll get out of the game now and do something else. Or go to media. Yeah.
You're going to media because it's just so easy. It'll be so
awesome.
easy. Just go in here and everyone will be awesome on TV. Like, you just throw a microphone in Jason Witten's face, and then you're like, okay, maybe we shouldn't have done this.
Or do podcasts for a living.
Well, okay. So Jason Witten is the one that you can look at and say, yeah, didn't work.
Yeah. Drew Brees.
What do you think about Gronk?
He's okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
What do you think about Julian Edelman?
I think Edelman's good. I think Edelman's interesting. However, the podcast is a much different space once he gets on to massive TV.
But he's doing preseason sideline. I think I saw him for New England. I saw him at a game doing some stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm not watching the New England individual broadcast, but I'm just talking about.
I know you're not,
yeah,
but I thought, listen, you get a lot of stuff. You get a lot more on your feed than what I do. You see, your tentacles touch a lot more. So I just assume when I see something, you have already seen it twice.
I agree.
I appreciate that.
No,
Thank
I
you,
do
Artis.
too,
I
Billy.
appreciate that. Thank you.
It feels like that, doesn't it?
I think most of these guys look at
Hey, I just hit the white whale. Okay. I have now conquered, Everest. I have stumped Armin on a question on this show before. I actually asked him something that he didn't have an answer to or didn't know how to spell a word. And now I have gotten Billy on something where I have seen something that Billy hasn't seen. I have 2 spots on my bingo card that nobody else has.
There you go.
There it is. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. That is a winner for a Friday. And we roll into hour number 3, which is always our best one yet, which always features a Coons Can't Miss. And that means it's a winning time because we're putting aside what happened last night into winning time on a beautiful football Friday in the good land. It's 9 to noon. Hour 3 is next on the game.
Do you really want to live forever and ever?
ready, Mace?
Party people in the place to be. It's about that time for us to.
Yeah, what you know about going out? Head west, red legs, TVs, all up in the headrest. Try and live it up, rock jewel, bigger truck, piece all glittered up, stick a kid, what? Jig with the cuts, Chris spit it up. Right, get your till I can't get it up. I'm a big man, get it.
Hour 3, 9 to noon on your radio, on your iHeartRadio app, also on YouTube and X. Thanks for streaming the show and watching us day in and day out. You can hang out, be a part of the show on the NicolaLaw.com talk and text line. It's 414-799-1973. Let's be honest, it really never closes. And then when people like Dan in the 715 ask good questions, we like to throw them out here. He said, just curious, ask Kuhn what the Ravens are doing today in Green Bay. Sightseeing, meetings, walkthroughs, team building. What are they doing in Green Bay? There's a really, really nice paintball area, I know, just a little bit north.
There's definitely going to be a walkthrough. They will definitely walk through today. I know that for a fact. And then there's probably going to be a team building, or maybe not. Maybe they'll let the guys maybe they'll say, hey, for us, we don't need the team building. You guys go enjoy yourselves at Bay Beach or Titletown.
Well, Bay Beach.
Or maybe make your way up to the new zoo, make your way up there and see some things around.
The new zoo?
Yeah.
Is it a good zoo? I did hear there was a new one in Green Bay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's been about 5 years now, but we still
Newish.
call it the new zoo.
Okay.
That's the name. The name is the new zoo.
The
So
new
we just
zoo.
call it
I
the
like
new
that.
zoo.
Okay.
Are there more animals or just more updated facilities?
I think they just brought the animals over from the old zoo. I don't quote. me
That's
on
a genius
any
way
this.
of going
I have
about
not
it.
Been there. My kids have been there several times. I have not been to the new zoo.
I
I've not been
love
to
that.
the old zoo either. I haven't been to either zoos in Green Bay. I've been to Milwaukee Zoo about 4 times.
Not a bad
Never
zoo.
to either of these.
Yeah.
New
I
Zoo
like Milwaukee.
stands the Northeastern Wisconsin Zoo, commonly referred to as New Zoo.
New
Get it?
zoo.
I like that.
Oh,
there you
okay.
go. So
Did
it
you know
doesn't.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe the name is not redundant. Maybe it actually stands for something. I should have thought of that. But yeah, we call it the new zoo.
I think I was slated to go to the zoo this weekend, but actually, even more exciting, we're going to bring a little bit of a noon zoo on Sunday to Metro Market in Greenfield, 76th and Cold Spring.
I'm excited about
in
that.
Greenfield.
Yeah.
Armin Sarian and myself are going to be live. Leroy Butler, Pro Football Hall of Famer, Packers legend, inventor of the Lambeau Leap, going to be there. And also, most importantly, guys, if you haven't realized, what's game day without a Coke?
Gotta have a Coke. Come on.
What is a game day really without a Coke? You want to be able to have some kind of Coke. And right now, maybe the best Coke ever is right now available at Metro Market. And it's the Coke Zero Sugar.
Yeah. So,
So we're going to be trying that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Going to be hanging out from 11 to 1, maybe
Excited.
a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit later, because Armin's going to shop some produce after.
Yeah, I am going to try and get some of my grocery shopping done. I don't know if I'm going to
Are
do
you
it
going to try to do
before.
it in between breaks?
Possibly, because I do have that fantasy draft, and we're going to be talking a little fantasy as well.
Talk a little fantasy football, no doubt about it. 'Cause
I'm
people
gonna
are
be-
heading over.
Because you know me, I like to get into the grocery store and really find some deals.
Yeah.
I'm a pick and save shopper. I like to go around and check out the price per ounce on items, see what's on the closeout section.
And the
There's
funny
always a
thing is,
closeout
I know,
section.
like during Packer games, before you started producing,
Yep.
that was the best time for you to be at a grocery store.
Always. Yeah,
No one's there.
No one's there. So you pop in, get your shopping done, you're home, you're good to go. But there's always something good at Pick and Save. That's the one I grew up with.
That's our home store advantage
that's
right
the
there,
home
too.
store.
Yeah.
76
We're
in
right
Cold
there.
Spring. I used to go there, man, with my mom. I remember that. So that's awesome. Then it's a newer one now, but
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
fancy schmancy, but it's a Metro Market, so all the good stuff that you've always grown up on and all the great deals you're gonna be able to find there. 11 to 1, and you're gonna be able to find Armin Sarian and myself, Billy Schmidt, and also Leap 36 Leroy Butler is going to be there, like I mentioned as well, Sunday 11 to 1 at Metro Market in Greenfield.
So John, you can come meet us, John, if you want to swing by.
Come
and
see what Armin looks like.
meet me and Billy.
It's one of my always favorite things to say. Come see what Armin Sarian looks like in person.
Come see what Armin looks like.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great thing to do. And listen, people,
It's a hell of a
nobody
saying.
believes Armin looks like what he actually looks like.
People
they
say
all
that.
think you look like something else.
I never
I don't
know
know.
how to
I've been
take
looking
that.
at you. I think you look different in person than what you look on the screen that I see you every
You
single
say
day.
that, and I'm like, I'm the same person here. I don't
Well,
know.
you look
Are you
incredibly
sure?
different.
You're not a
You look lot
shapeshifter?
different. You look a lot different.
Okay, I think that's.
I think
a
you're more
compliment.
handsome in person, to be honest.
Appreciate that, Billy.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to take it as a compliment. Not sure if it is.
Oh, it's a definite compliment.
Appreciate
Big compliment
that.
for
Okay.
it. Also, speaking of in person and being able to be at one in person here tonight, kickoff of high school football in the state of Wisconsin. John, I know your boy and our friend Ross Tucker posted a picture of him, his first varsity start. It's one of my favorite things that Ross has a couple of these like yearly tradition tweets that he fires out. And this one of him with his parents after his first varsity game, he sends out seemingly every single year. And I mean, he is absolutely soaked with sweat, rain, mud in this 55 jersey. He said, first varsity start 30 years ago, 15 years old, 6 feet tall, 175 pounds. Physically, I probably wasn't ready. Mentally, I'd been waiting for it my whole life. Annual reminder of high school football starting in PA tonight. No matter what amazing things you go on to do and what happened in your life, I can assure you that this experience will remain at or near the top. Enjoy every second. It's incredibly special. I remember my first start very, very much in high school football. A lot of kids going to be able to have that. You remember your first varsity start there, John Kuhn, when you were steamrolling people in the PA area?
Yeah, I remember my first start, sophomore year, third game sophomore year, and I broke my shoulder on the opening kickoff. So I didn't even get to start.
Gosh. What a bummer. I mean, that is just.
Yeah, how about that? Sophomore, first 2 games, I'm watching this guy, I'm backing him up, and then finally, oh, hey, you're starting this week. Yes, I'm so excited. Opening kickoff, break my shoulder trying to bust the wedge. So went to the hospital, and Grammy passed out, and I had to put her in my hospital bed. Oh, yeah. Took the shoulder pads off. You saw how my bone was all sticking out of my shoulder.
Oh,
and
man.
Grammy passed out right there in the emergency room. So then she went on my bed, and I sat in the seat by the door.
This is right out of a sitcom. So here's John with his whole shoulder. They're waiting to put back into place and probably sew back up. Hold on. All right. Now we're going to need another bed. Gonna need another bed here.
Another one in here. Yeah.
That's an episode of Friends right there.
But you know what?
God.
Now, John, you must have thought.
Yeah, if you saw your child mutilated, you might pass out too.
I know. I would.
I passed out.
No, I know I would.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't think Grammy would. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Worst thing was I passed out a couple of weeks ago. I can't believe I'm saying this on air, but yeah, passed out because a little guy cut his lip open a little bit.
Yeah.
Your boy thought it was far worse than it was. Right? We're sitting there, John.
See, isn't that something?
Rubbing
Now imagine his shoulder sticking up around his ear somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
And then what would you do?
And then all of a sudden, I remember Allie just looking at me and saying, what are you doing? And I'm on the ground, and there,
taking a nap. What's it look like I'm doing?
Can you throw me a blanket and make it a little bit more comfortable
Catching
down
a
here?
couple Z's. Do I not work hard enough for you? Like, give me a break here.
Can you give me a second? Can you just enjoy? No, I still remember first play. We're playing Germantown High School my junior year, and they were very, very good at the time.
Yeah.
We walk out there, first play, John. What are we running first play of the season? 4 verts. What else would you run first play of the season with Coach Biff, right? I mean, my man was running this in NCAA every single week. So we're running 4 verts. Airmail our buddy Steven for what would have been a wide open touch. I mean, he is clear past the safety by about 15 yards. We do the instant dap up, right? Get back to the huddle. That's there all day, fellas. There all day. I don't think we got past the 50 all day. And I think we got beat 49 or 56-0. So that is one of those moments where you're like, okay, this is how it's going to be. They get humbled pretty quickly, but it still will be. Even if it goes as poorly as that night, still will be one of those memories that you have for your entire life. No doubt about it. Even guys like that we're going to be watching tomorrow at Lambeau Field, when we're talking about the guys with the most to gain and the most to lose, that's one of the most important, if not the most important game of their life coming up here tomorrow, John. And we all kind of agree that Emmanuel Wilson has some of the most to gain. Anybody on the field that you could see playing themselves out of a potential spot, somebody that right now that's on the bubble that could really hurt themselves coming up tomorrow, or that could be vulnerable to somebody having an amazing game and jumping above somebody on that depth chart?
All right, let me look at this depth chart here. I mean, quite frankly, you know, that competition between Bo Melton, Malik Heath, and Grant DeBose, they can't all stay. So which one? I mean, I don't know. Grant DeBose has had a couple special teams clips that have popped out. Bo hasn't had a great camp. He's had some moments, but he's also had some bad moments. He hasn't had a great camp. I just can't see you walking away from what he did last year. and coming up at a big time in Minnesota and then continue. I mean, he had big catches all the way down the stretch as well, Billy, if you remember. He had a big catch. I think it was against Chicago in that last game of the regular season. He had a big catch down in Dallas too. So I can't see Bo Melton being a guy left out here. And Malik Heath, he was so good last year, especially in the run game. I don't know. Somewhere in that threesome between Malik Heath, Bo Melton, and Grant DuBose, somebody's going to get a raw shake. Someone's going to get a bad shake there.
And after the first game, I think Grant DuBose was everyone's super darling. And then after the second game, people were like, it soured a little bit quickly. So that is an up and down move, huh?
It did sour, but he did have a fantastic rep on special teams, got knocked down and still got up and made the tackle. It's something that you love to see. So on the offensive side, I would say not really many surprises there. Unless there is a winky woo at the running back position. If Emmanuel Wilson goes out there and plays really well, and then maybe something does happen with A.J. Dillon. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Jacobs, Dillon, Lloyd are safe.
Mm-hmm.
I think Emmanuel Wilson, unfortunately, is going to be the odd man out because as an unrestricted free agent, or an undrafted free agent, that's generally what can happen.
Yeah.
Right. To a guy. On the defensive side, this is where it gets really interesting. Guy who could, Brenton Cox, man, there is a guy right there in Brenton Cox who can make this team with a really good showing. He could make the team with a really good showing, but I could also see him being released. Colby Wooden is they want 10 defensive linemen. They want 10, and there's 9 locked in.
Yeah.
Somewhere between Brenton Cox, and I think he's the leader in the clubhouse, Brenton Cox, Keyshawn Banks, Jonathan Ford, even James Esther. He's been popping each and every game. I mean, who's going to be that last guy? I think it's going to be Brenton Cox, and I have no reason to suspect Brenton Cox doesn't go out and just take it tomorrow. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to play well. So I would think there. Christian Welch, unfortunately, he's had a good camp. He's had a good camp.
Come
Billy.
on, Iola, go crazy.
But I just don't see how you can keep I don't see how you can keep 6 linebackers. Tyron Hopper is a thumper. We know that.
Yeah.
He's good. He solidified himself last game. So you got Eric Wilson, you got Christian Welch, and that's if you're keeping 5. I think you keep 5 for special teams. Which one between Eric Wilson and Christian Welch?
Yeah. And
then you go, hold on, and then you got maybe one spot at the cornerback position. Is it going to be, Rochelle? Is it going to be Corey Ballantyne? I mean, Carrington Valentine's a lock because he was having a great camp before he got hurt. Jair is a lock. Eric Smokes is a lock. Keyshawn Nixon's a lock. Can they even take another cornerback? Or do they take another safety in Katan Oladapo? Right? Oladapo's had himself a pretty solid camp as well. I would put Oladapo right there with Anthony Johnson Jr. So there's how many names did we say? There's probably about 4 spots left up for grabs as it rolls into tomorrow night, and they all have leaders in the clubhouse. I don't know. And I don't know who's going to get it, but I think Oladapo's played himself in that spot.
Yeah, and he was such an intriguing guy coming out of the draft. A 5th-round pick out of Oregon State. You could tell the special teams ability that he was going to have. He was, I want to say, first 2 weeks of camp, John, he was hurt, unable to perform, unable to practice a lot during the stuff throughout the summer as well. But when
he
been
broke
on the
his
field,
toe at the combine.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about a guy who went to the combine, broke his damn toe. So now you got yourself a setback of about 4 or 5 months there. Coming out of combine was late February. So yeah, he just got back from a broken toe a couple weeks ago.
Summer was all messed up and unable to be on the field. That's an impressive feat then, if you are going to be able to showcase it. I think he was going to be a difficult cut because of the draft position, but 5th-round pick, that's like a line of demarcation, a lot like speeding, right? Once you go over 10 miles an hour, you could be grass, right? They can grab you very quickly at any time. I think once you get past like the middle of the 5th round, you're going to get a potential leg up, but they will cut you at that particular point in time. He did have to put something on tape, but he definitely has, to your point, Keaton Oladapo has been somebody that's jumped off the page the last couple of days while we've been at camp.
It hasn't been that way here recently, but I've seen 3rd-rounders get cut. I mean, if you go out there and stink it up, you will get cut. Now, to Goody's credit, there haven't really been any stinkers. I think he's
Jamon Moore in the 4th, I think, is the only one I can think of where it was like, we can't see the regular season with this cat.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you can't. And there's been very few.
Yeah.
There's been very few, and the rest, especially the recent drafts, have been absolute knockouts. I mean, to have guys like, think about who they got. Last year in the draft, Carl Brooks in the 6th round. Carl Brooks is balling. Carl Brooks is a ball player. He is a solid rotational defensive lineman. You grabbed him in the 6th round. Jonathan Ford in the 7th round the year before. Jonathan Ford is he's a guy that you can throw in there for a couple reps every game. They have gotten players at all the spots where you would anticipate, being able to contribute to the team in some form or fashion, and right where they drafted them too. I mean, some of these guys pop out a little bit higher. Kalen King is a 7th round pick. I don't think Kalen King makes the team.
No.
I think Kalen King makes a team on some other roster in the NFL. I think when out of all the guys that we're saying gets released here, I think Kalen King has about as good a chance of getting picked up, unless Grant DuBose gets released. And then, because they got to keep Bo and Malik Heath, then I think Grant DuBose could get a call here shortly. But teams are picking off the waiver wire at a lot fewer clip than what they used to back in the day, because now you get 19 practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get 19. Hold on. What do you get? You get 16 practice squad guys. Now you get 16 practice squad guys. So I don't think that they go to the waiver wire quite like they used to. But 2 guys that they could get from the Packers here, Kalen King at corner and Grant DuBose at wide receiver.
Yeah, it changes up the mathematics of it for a lot of teams trying to grab players when you have to add them to your 53. And we really like our guys, right? We liked them enough to bring them in during the summer. We like them enough to keep them on our practice squad a little bit more than your practice squad players. We still like our guys, and they know our offense still a little bit more. Now, we had somebody suggesting on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line that the Coons can't miss could be Arrowhead against Marquette tonight. I didn't like the line of 28 that he assigned to it.
Massive line.
A lot of wood.
Now, listen, if someone wants take 28.5, but I can't be speaking upon that being on the sidelines. Instead, John Kuhn will select what the Coons can't miss is right now.
The man can't miss. Time now for Coons Can't Miss. Presented by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Bet big, bet bold.
Would I be good to take 28.5 for Arrowhead tonight? Would I be good for that?
I think they'd cover it.
I'd like to think so.
It's
going to be a difficult night if we don't, John.
Makes me think about
John. Long night if we don't cover the 28.5.
Yeah, you should probably do that.
Well,
and I'm going to be real salty coming up to Lambeau Field tomorrow morning if we don't cover the 28.5.
Well, I need one too after the heartbreak that happened last night between the Colts and the Bengals.
Yeah.
The Colts were trying to run the clock out. They were literally just trying to run the clock out. It was 2nd down, timeout. All they needed was a 1st down. 1st down, and the game's over. 1st down, game's over. Zach Taylor stops calling timeouts. And I win at 34 points with the over-under of 34. I took the under, and we had a bag. Instead, this is what you get in the preseason. You get heroes. You get guys trying to put their names out there. And that's exactly what happened when the running back for the Colts, I can't remember his name, but he was a hero, took it 40 yards to the house last night in under the 2-minute warning.
That was his moment.
To break the over. Good for him.
Good for him.
Got his highlight out there. Got a 40-yard touchdown out there. Really bad for the under of 34.5. That's a bad beat if I ever heard one. So 2-2 in the week. 2-2 in the week.
Not
got to get a win here.
Coons can't miss, right?
I thought about going baseball and picking anything against the White Sox because that's about as can't miss as you can have this year in the baseball season. But they are playing the Tigers, and you know what? I'm not picking the Tigers. There's no chance I'm putting my week's winning on the Tigers. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to do a little preseason football. And I'm going to take the Packers -3. I'm going to take the Packers -3. I'm going to trust Schneidman when he says Packers looked up. Here's the problem, and this is the one thing that I'm afraid of here. Josh Johnson for the Ravens. Josh Johnson in the last preseason game went 11 for 11 with a touchdown. 11 for 11. He was as efficient as you can go. I'm nervous about Josh Johnson in this ball game, but if we can get past Josh Johnson without being down, this one's going to come through. GBP -3 on Saturday, noon boom for the week.
All right.
For the week. This determines a winner for the week.
Yep, Packers -3. Does it make you nervous that the Ravens seem to be like the preseason Yankees? Like the preseason, like the Ravens always win in preseason. That's the only thing that makes me nervous. So
yeah, that is their favorite thing to
that's
do.
their thing to do. I'm not saying this is a bad pick or anything, John. I'm just saying. make you nervous.
Well, they did fumble away the first game of the season, the
Yeah.
first preseason game this year. That
Maybe,
did happen.
maybe they're due for a bunch of losses in a row, guys. You ever think about that? I mean, for a while they had a streak going. You know, they hadn't lost preseason since
19 in a row
the
or something.
Carter
it was.
administration.
And now
They're due for some losses. All right, Packers
one
minus 3
already
John.
this year.
Let's
I
get
just-
this thing done. Let's
I
get
just
this
love
thing.
the love for Josh Johnson. Josh Johnson doesn't get any love in the National Football League outside of on this radio program.
He doesn't. No, that's true, but he does on this show.
He gets some love on this show, and we for one appreciate it. For Josh Johnson, going to be playing coming up tomorrow for the Baltimore Ravens against the Green Bay Packers. You're going to hear that game right here on the game. You're going to hear John Kuhn along with Kevin Harlan on the television broadcast of that game, and chop it up with Drew Olson and I after the game on Packers OT right here on your home for Green Bay Packers football. 97.3 The Game. John Kuhn, Billy Schmidt, Armin Sarian. Back after this, they might be stealing our bit on the Pat McAfee show.
I was literally just gonna say that they're stealing our bit.
They might be stealing our bit.
That's our whole thing.
We'll fill you in on how on the other side. It's 9 to noon on the game. Well, they're stealing our flow word for word, bar for bar. The Pat McAfee Show, this is 9 to noon on the game. The Pat McAfee Show broadcasting live from Dublin, Ireland for the kickoff of the college football season tomorrow. Florida State going up against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech catching 10 points.
You taking that, Billy? You taking all 10?
Got it earlier in the week when it was 11.
Oh, okay.
Earlier in the week, it was 13.
You always buy the half point.
Should have bought the half point, went to 11.5. But that makes me feel nervous. If all that money is flowing through on Florida State, maybe Florida State's coming for a revenge game to shock everybody and remind everybody why they were undefeated a year ago. What it is, though, right now is Pat McAfee and his squad drinking pints at a pub in Ireland. They're drinking Guinness. There's a lot of empty glasses in front. Now, we don't necessarily know if all those glasses were drank while on the program, before the show started, and or if there's actually alcohol in some of these Guinnesses. But this looks exactly like Dugout 54.
Yeah, I know. I was
It
just
does look a lot like Dugout 50.
Everyone pressed in front doing the show with sun just blasting through the back, and you're not able to really see a whole
sun
lot.
right in front of that garage right there on Blue Mountain, John, and the little tables that I set up, thinking that's enough room for us every year. You know, I'm thinking I got 2 tables.
I like tight, confined spaces at pubs. I don't like these big, fancy bars. I don't want these big, huge dance floors and all this space. I like tight, confined bars just like this. Looks like they got themselves a couple of 5-gallon drums with some boards on top to keep all their stuff
like
up.
some serving trays.
And I got to tell you, it's 6:00 right now in Dublin, and I'm so jealous because of all the places I've been to in the world, Ireland is up there. Ireland is very, very high on my list. I'm very jealous. Pat McAfee keeps slugging. They got to be N.A. Guinnesses. He's going to be hammered by the time they get done the show.
that thing.
I don't know,
Another
John.
one.
You don't think he can handle a couple
No,
beers?
listen, I've been around Pat, but this has now been at least two in the last 15 minutes that I've seen. Notice AJ's is still sitting there. AJ's got 2 sips out of his.
No, they all bought the same hat from the guy from the gift shop on the street there. All those Irish hats.
Irish golf hats.
Yeah. The paint.
My grandpa had 1,500 of those hats.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. He was
What
a
are they
big
called?
fan.
They're not called
Grandpa
driving
hats is what I call them.
No.
Grandpa
What are they
golf
called?
hats is what
They're
I
not
call
called
them.
derbies. What are they called?
Nah, those aren't derbies.
I
Those
like
aren't-
my man in the background, like right above Coach Saban's shoulder. Now, when they zoom in on Coach Saban, you can see this guy. He's tucked down here.
Oh,
His
yeah.
glasses are like at the bridge of his nose, and he's tried holding up a beer like 6 or 7 times. He's had to have refilled it 3 or 4 times because I've seen him finish it twice. So, it is a wild situation there. And I can only imagine everybody is really, really behaving themselves, and the FCC has to love that this broadcast is on national television.
Yeah, and
with the
right.
amount of swears and cuss words that are going behind him. Look at him back there. Oh, no.
What is he doing?
No.
You know, those are like, is that like, when we're at
Oh.
Dugout 54 and there's like a bunch of guys encroaching on the table? Like
This guy
10 in the
can't
Falls?
see.
He doesn't know what's going on. There's people talking to us during the show, and Scooby and Smurf.
This
are
guy
there.
might think he's in Poland.
Oh, he has no idea. That's whatever it is. That's like probably the most fun bachelor party he's ever been on.
Oh, God. Yeah, they're having a good old time. And Coach Saban's like, all right. I appreciate all this fun here. All right. But there's a football game coming up tomorrow. All right. Are we going to talk about the game? Are we going to talk about the play on the field? Are you all just going to sit here and slug beers all night? All right. That's not what I'm going to be doing here. All right.
And let's talk about what NIL's doing. All right. Let's talk about Miss Terry.
Nick Saban's trying to solve the world's problems in college football. And these guys are like, so we landed at 9 a.m. It's 5:00 at night, and we're drinking. So this is going to be an interesting show.
They've got more empty glasses on that table than actual props, John. Wouldn't you say? I mean, at this point,
They're having a damn good time, and I can say I'm super jelly.
Yeah, I'm very jealous.
FOMO, it's FOMO.
Very jealous. How many times have you been to Ireland, John?
Oh, just
one good old long golf run. Was that what brought
11
you
days.
over there?
It was 11 days. Oh yeah, but it was epic.
How difficult are those tee times in the morning?
Oh no, nothing. You live for this, right? You're built for this. You're either about that life or you're not about that life. And I was about that life. And we did. It was 11 days. It was like 14 rounds in 11 days, and it was a boatload of miles. The way Ireland is kind of laid out is the coast is not a straight line. It's little tentacles that go out, and every single golf course is out on the end of a tentacle. It feels like so. Even though you can pretty much see it in the distance, the other golf course you got to go to, you got to drive all the way back one tentacle, drive around a little bit, and then drive all the way back down. And of course, They don't necessarily have, they have like one highway in the whole country that goes straight across the middle of it. Well, guess what? You're never on that road. You're on all these side roads and back roads and cobblestone roads. But boy, is it ever a fantastic adventure. That is anybody that likes to golf, I would say that is, and not even, you don't even need to golf. The Cliffs of Moher are outstanding to view, Armin. You would love that.
I love it. Yeah.
The castles that they have there, but the pubs and just the way they treat visitors, they are so incredibly accommodating to people that are coming to visit their country. It was outstanding.
Deviation Don said the hats are called Scallies.
Scallies.
So
Okay.
I'm assuming-
Never would have gotten that one. I don't know what
Never.
you got. That was not going to be one that I was going to be able to get.
Ken in the Falls, you'd love the bus stop in Fremont, Wisconsin if you like smaller, fun bars. All right, cool.
Now,
Thanks,
I think
buddy.
that's where the boys were
They
this
were.
weekend.
Yeah.
Tim and Pipe Bomb and everybody went up there for the post-game show on Saturday.
Correct. Yeah.
No way that wasn't a rip-roaring good time.
Oh, it looked like a tremendous time getting Timmy out there. with
Timmy's
the
got a
group.
high life in his hand in like the second inning. I knew that was going to be a show that you were not going to want to be able to miss. That's an absolute winner right out of the gates. Also, some of these things just pop up. This pops up in the middle of the radio show after Matt Schneidman joins 9 to noon, apparently sent a text to our friend John Kuhn and then thought that he was going to dox John Kuhn.
What is with this? What is with Matt doing?
Joker
this?
thought that he was going to put your text messages online and we were not going to discuss. He said,
It's
looking
not the
for a
first
new
time.
name for the Brick and the Stick show this season. Now, best news here, John, is Brick and the Stick podcast is returning for 2024. Big fans of that.
Yeah.
Matt Schneidman texts our friend John Kuhn and then puts it online. Let's also discuss a potential new name. I go to Planet Fitness 6 days a week, so Stick might not stick for much longer.
What?
Now, there's one response, and Armin Sarian has it. Armin Sarian is having that response for the people watching on YouTube and X. You're seeing him fall over the place. John responded the right way, laughing at that text.
Oh my gosh.
Right? You have to emphasize with the laughter mode. What are we doing here? What are we doing here, Matt?
I'm not laughing at you, Matt, but it's funny. Like,
Then drops.
We're not changing the name.
Then just drops one word. Whatever. Like, sorry, bud. You think the 6 days a week in Planet Fitness is taking the stick out of the name? Whatever.
I
Good
mean,
for you.
Is Matt
Good
like,
for you.
And the 6 eggs and stuff. Like, is he joking? Like, yeah. But what if I rolled up? Guys, you can't. Yeah. We
What is
can't
it? The
do-
brick and the boulder
I'm-
here in 2024? Is that what we're trying to go for?
I'm loading up. It's bulk season. I'm having a winter bulk. You can't call
The
me
brick
stick.
and the bulker?
You can't call me stick anymore because I'm gonna get huge. It's like Kenny Mannion in Seinfeld when he's like, I'm huge now. I'm not a 40 anymore. I'm a 42.
Now,
Working out.
then an individual said Crocs and blocks. Now,
It's actually funny.
Yeah, even funnier when you do listen to our conversation that we had earlier on in the show. I mean, like Crocs in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I don't think people are to Matt Schneidman. Think of Crocs in Green Bay Packers fans.
No, I understand. We can't really
That
do
won't be a deal.
But Matt wasn't here covering the team when that went down, so
And
he
he
doesn't
likes it.
understand. Yeah, and he likes it, so he doesn't understand what kind of things he's getting into. Listen, I'm going to put an end to this. When we get off the show, I'm going to put an end to this. We're not going there. It's the brick and the stick.
I just can't.
It's just the way it is.
The best thing
my
is-
reaction. I just couldn't hold myself.
I
in,
got
bro.
all of this off just one tweet that just scrolling through, looking for news. Hey, maybe getting a Brandon Ayuk news blurb here. Anybody heard from Jamar Chase? No. I just see one tweet, Armin, from John Kuhn. Not a whole lot of punctuation, just an ellipses in the middle. No capital letters. LOL. No.
Yeah.
No. We're not doing that. So quit asking.
Next time. Sorry, guys.
Good for Schneidman, dude. Like he really thought that one was gonna bust through. Now, Brad and Sheboygan has an idea of what the name could be. Can't say that one on the radio, nor can we say Derek and Whitewater is potentially on the radio. The brick and the thick stick from Schwartz Center. Again, now
That's
that
too much-
one.
There's too many syllables.
Well, I think more
doesn't-
importantly, it's
Wow.
just a very, very strange connotation that you'd be saying about Matt Schneidman.
obviously, that's obvious. Thick stick. I mean, we can't really say those.
I mean,
type
if
of
he's
things.
really trying to be the coolest guy in Green Bay or the most in demand in the Green Bay area, Sardine Can, he's going to be popping off if they change the name to the Thick Stick.
How about the John and Matt podcast or something?
What's wrong with not change it? Why does
I
everybody
know,
have
I
to change
agree. I agree.
everything?
Don't
Why do we
know.
got to move people around? Why
What
do we
happened
got
to
to change names?
consistency in this
We
business?
don't have to change it. I'm with you on that. I'm just saying, like, yeah, and we don't also need like crazy names for podcasts all the time. You know, it's like
I just
the
would
back booth with John and like why do people come up with these names? Like the basement bar with like.
I've put myself and allowed myself to go there with just envisioning what Matt Schneidman's face was like when he received the text back from John that
This
just
is
said,
great. I'm putting this online.
whatever.
Did you? How do you feel? In
What do you
general?
mean? That's a great idea.
How do you feel in general about him putting your text screenshots on Twitter, John? It's not
You
the
seem to
first
have a
time.
much bigger problem with it than I do.
All right, good.
You
I'm
did
not-
the last time. You did the last time he did too. Yeah, why don't you handle my light work for me? Why don't you call him up and tell him to stop invading my
I
privacy?
just want to make
so
sure
funny.
that you have an understanding with him because you don't do that to somebody normally unless you've talked to him about it. I think it's, in my opinion.
I have never once had a conversation with him about what he is and is not allowed to put on social
Good.
media. But if you want to handle it from the co-host aspect and say, hey, you can't invade my co-host privacy like this, feel free.
I'm not going to.
I will not hold you
Stop
back.
him.
I will not. I've very rarely held people back from a fight.
That's true. You
You
have
usually let that thing go down. And then you find out where you are in the national or the natural progression of things.
That's true. I also want to know if this was just a whole ruse just to get a conversation started about him working out to you. I think that's all that is.
To see if John would ask him like, hey, what's your plan? What's the program you're on?
Yeah, or like just wanted to get gassed up by John about working out.
Oh, I actually realized that. I thought you did look bigger.
Awesome, dude. What are you
Your
working
arms
on?
look great.
Let me show you some tips. I'll get a workout going. Like he wanted to be that kind of.
Maybe he was hoping John would say, well, stop working on a Planet Fitness. Why don't you come over to my gym and we'll really throw some weight around.
Exactly.
All pie in the sky thoughts for the stick.
Well, Planet Fitness has that big button, right? Isn't there like a big button where you can, if someone's being
Called a lunk button,
the
Norman.
lunk button? Yeah.
Oh,
Look
I
it
thought
up.
it was like the easy button, like Staples.
I
That's
don't
the only button that I'd
I
be trying to
wouldn't
hit if
know.
I was walking into the gym.
I don't pay for
Easy.
gyms.
I'm done.
I don't pay for gyms.
414-799-1973. It's 9 to noon on the game. We'll round third head for home and our predictions for what you get and what you'll see, what you need to watch for coming up tomorrow as the Packers wrap up the preseason. We wrap things up next on 9 to noon.
I love it when you call me Big Papa. Throw your hands in the air if you's a true player. I love it when you call me Big Papa. To the honeys getting money, playing fellas like
Nine to noon on the game. Glad you're hanging out with us and choosing to be here every single day instead of anywhere else that you possibly could be. Like Brett Favre watching football and just, not wanting people to play football. Interesting last night, Brett Favre's reaction. Now, we are really, really praying for the young man for the Chicago Bears who took a very, very tough hit last night, went down Gibson, and he was carted off the field. Very, very scary moment. Brett Favre said prayers up for this young man from the Chicago Bears. Now, not style of Dick Butkus' grandson running his Twitter account and just like randomly shouting out anything with the enemy on it. But Brett Favre was also on television yesterday discussing Aaron Rodgers and talking about the book. And so Brett has found his phone again and is now active. This is interesting. I wonder how much, John, we see. Ian O'Connor yesterday, I was listening to him on one of the 9,000 interviews he's doing nowadays as to what he's going to do when he's done.
When first thing you do, write a book. Second thing you do 1 million interviews about the book.
Yeah,
That's how
every
you
interview
sell
that
these
possible. He was with, I believe it was Dan Patrick, but I've heard him so many different times with so many different people, I can't fully remember. DP asked him, what do you think, Ian O'Connor, what do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to do when he's done playing football? Ian O'Connor was the first person to tell me he was going to be the best color analyst that the NFL has seen. Nobody else has even fathomed that Aaron Rodgers would be in a booth.
But Aaron said he doesn't want to. Am I wrong?
Oh, yeah.
So that's, I think, maybe part of the reason.
Multiple times.
I think he'd be good at it. I just didn't think he'd want to do it. Yeah.
But he said he has a crave. He craves being in the news cycle. Somebody's going to throw him a remarkable amount of money. He said, and he'd be better at it than Brady. And
we don't even know how good Brady is yet.
But the best thing is, Brett was.
Can we start with being better than Witten? Can we start there?
Hard not to be.
And then maybe work our way up to like Collinsworth or Greg. Why can't I think of his last name?
Greg Olsen.
Greg Olsen. Why can't we start there and work our way up? Why do we have to start with Brady? I mean, we don't even know what Brady is.
Right, I know. But it is interesting.
I do think Brady's going to be really good. I do think Brady's going to be really good. I do think Aaron would be really good. I don't think Aaron's going to do this. I don't think Aaron will stick around football and comment about football. I think it might be too tough for him. He might want to say what he actually wants to say, and he might start saying that's a bad play. That's a bad play. That's not a good throw. I would have thrown it. That would probably be difficult to be the greatest thrower of the football that's ever lived and watch other guys try and throw the football. It's probably going to be a tough gig. I honestly, I see him jumping into capital investment and occasional podcast hobbying over political views. That's what I see him going into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was fascinating because Brett was the guy that everyone started this with. Like, oh my God, Brett Favre is going to be amazing on television. He's going to be amazing on Monday Night Football. Then you realized there's not enough time, right? Like, there's just not enough time in a broadcast to have Brett be Brett and it come through the microphone.
It's not baseball.
He can't get 2 minutes in between plays to tell the story like a Bob Uecker can. Like Bob, I was worried the pitch clock was going to mess up Bob Uecker. Somehow made Bob Uecker better. Like, his stories are even quicker, a little bit more expedited. He's still getting it. And you tell me Bob Uecker doesn't sound amazing at almost 90 years old right now.
Oh, he does.
Being able to go through it. Football is just so different. Like, you got to be so concise. You got to be so quick. And we all believe that the next great quarterback to retire is going to be the next great broadcaster. Well, it comes in waves, right? Like, I mean, Aikman has... People have done full 180s on Troy Aikman as a broadcaster, and some people are down on him, some people are up on him. Tony Romo, I mean, that is a tilt-a-whirl of what your opinion is of Tony Romo going through. And Tom Brady's as polarizing as he possibly could be right now. I just love that Aaron still's like, I'm going to play a couple more years. But now we want to know is, what are you going to do after? And are you going to talk to us about NFL games? Are you going to call games for us? Are you going to be on the air watching these games with us? Probably won't.
If I were him, I would just do a weekly McAfee thing, right? Just keep that thing up when you're done and retired. I mean, I can't.
Especially if
see
he's
him-
giving you $1 million. I mean, I'd be doing the same thing.
I can't see him doing it, but goodness gracious, if somebody comes out and says $375 million,
It's
like
hard
they
to
did
say
for
no.
Tom Brady,
Hard to say no.
yeah, he just might say yes.
I mean, I would take that job.
Oh, you would?
I think I would.
You
I
would
mean,
do
I-
that job. You wouldn't be a running back in the NFL, but you'd take that job.
I think I would do it. Yeah, I'd
It's a
have to
good
work
idea.
some stuff out, but I'd have to think.
I
about
think we could
taking
find
it.
somebody to produce the Packer game.
Yeah, I think you'd have to. Sorry.
That's our Quick Trip take of the day, brought to you by Quick Trip. Need something for dinner tonight? Don't cook. Stop by your local Quick Trip. Pick up a freshly prepared, absolutely delicious take-home meal. You might even find
Spaghetti, chicken Alfredo, potatoes, salad. He likes to stick to what he knows.
we take the preseason out to the woodshed tomorrow. It's over after tomorrow with the Packers and Ravens. Tune in to John Kuhn with Kevin Harlan, bringing you all the sights and sounds on the television broadcast. Wayne Larrivee, Larry McCarron right here on your home for Packers football. Our coverage starts way early in the morning at 8 a.m. with Doug Russell. Network coverage at 10. Drew Olson and I wrap things up on Packers OT as the Packers wrap up the preseason with the Ravens tomorrow. We'll wrap all of it up and try to be better on Monday. Mike Heller Show's next, 4, 9 to noon. You got the game.